This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling Omakase. It is episode number 117. This week, I have a pair of returning guests. First of all, a man I hope you enjoy hearing the voice of, because you're going to hear him for 3 straight weeks. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad. Excited to talk about these shows. Excited for this big upcoming weekend of wrestling.
Yep. Very excited. There's so much stuff going on, but really the next 2 weeks, which I didn't even realize until I really dug into it. But we'll talk about that. Also on the line here from X of the Burning Spirits podcast on this very network, Mr. Kevin Hare. Hi, Kevin.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing?
Not as good as you, because you're about to go to Japan.
I am about to go to Japan. I'm pretty excited.
When do you fly out again?
I leave on Thursday, Halloween, the October 31st.
So give me, obviously, as people who listen to this show know, I love hearing people's Japanese travel plans. So give me the itinerary. What are you doing?
So the major plan is on the 2nd, Noah, on the 3rd, DDT, on the 4th, Stardom, and then Big Japan. Stardom's at Korakuen Hall, and then no wrestling stuff, just kind of general sightseeing and shopping, and going to that digital museum and the robot restaurant, and then whatever else comes up in between. And then Dragon Gate on the 8th, I think, whatever the Thursday is. And then that's it for the wrestling shows. And then hopefully going to see this punk band called Poison Idea and some other like Japanese punk hardcore bands on the 10th, and then coming home.
Like the 11th?
The 11th, yep.
Okay. So you're not leaving Tokyo, you're staying in Tokyo the whole time?
Yeah, for this trip, just because it's my first time over there, I figured kind of stay in Tokyo, oversaturate myself there, because I'm sure that it'll be easy to fill up the 10 days, especially with 3 big wrestling shows, like long ones. So do that, and then hopefully this is just the first trip, then go back and do a little bit more next time.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could easily fill up like a whole 2 weeks in Tokyo. So
yeah,
I mean, you'll find plenty of stuff to do. But that's exciting. You already know like where you're staying and everything?
Yeah, I'm staying in Akizaka, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is. Yep. You'll like it.
Yeah, so pretty close to like, I think like a lot of cool like sightsee type of things. JoJo recommended the area, so
yeah, you're very close to like Roppongi also, I think, unless I'm thinking of the wrong. Yeah, you're right by like Roppongi too, if you want to head over there. And then that whole area has a lot of like the TBS broadcasting is over there. Like they have like a whole little like set up where you can go see. TBS is in Tokyo Broadcasting System, not the American network. I just realized the same thing. But yeah, there's like, it's a night, not Turner, but there's a lot of like really nice little cafes over there. There's like a very famous like concert venue over there. I think it's called Sakasis or something. I don't know. There's a ton of karaoke over there. I don't know if you're a karaoke guy, but you should do it once at least in Japan. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think the person I'm going with actually is, so we might do that.
Yeah, there's one that I can recommend actually that I've been to in Akasaka. It's like I can't remember which chain it was, but like basically right outside the TBS building, there's like almost like a high rise of karaoke. I think it might be Karaoke Con. It could be one of the other chains, but like if you see like a big giant, like almost looks like a fucking karaoke skyscraper, go to that one because basically for no additional cost, they could put you up in like a nice high building, a nice high room. So like you could do karaoke while you also have like a great view of Tokyo. It's really awesome. So that's my
sounds cool.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty close to like where the Emperor Estate is and all that type of stuff too. So
it's like a very high class area.
Yeah,
so,
excited to just kind of explore it.
Yeah, I mean that's a cool place to stay. But yeah, I mean obviously I hope you have a great time. And
me too.
if you need any travel tips, Taylor and I did a great couple of episodes.
I actually did listen to a lot of that. So
yeah. So for anyone else listening who might be going on their first trip soon, so I know a lot of people go for Wrestle Kingdom. So definitely can go back and check that out. The episodes that Taylor and I did after we got back this year. And of course, anyone who ever wants to like just fucking DM me or message me on Discord too, I'm always happy to answer questions. Not that I'm like some kind of super expert, but I've been there 3 times, so I'm sure I probably have some tips and stuff I can share. But in the meantime, obviously the part of the reason why I wanted to have you on, Kevin, is because I figure you'll be very excited to preview these 3 shows that you'll be going to. So
yeah, for sure.
And I want to get your thoughts too, I guess, on like what you're most looking forward to seeing live. Now, most of these rosters you'll be seeing live for the first time, right? I assume.
Yes. So I think Noah. I don't know if I've seen most people on Noah. I've seen like the Great Muta once or twice, and
did you go see him in Philly in 2003?
No,
there?
That was before me.
I was that was like my first time seeing him.
Yeah, that would have been before. Like when I started to go to indie shows would have been like 2009.
Oh, I gotcha.
So, yeah, a little bit later than that. But no, the only time I think I've seen him was maybe even this year at Madison Square Garden, actually. So.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot he was on that Battle Royal.
Because a few years ago, if you remember, there was going to be a Wrestle One US tour with like a weird West Virginia indie. And they were going to run Philadelphia then. And I think that it sold like 5 tickets in advance. And it was a really bizarre, just the whole thing was really strange. But shockingly, it was canceled.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to go, but the Great Muta was going to be there. So I felt obligated. But and like Matsukatsu Funaki and like the whole roster was going to come over. But it got canceled, so it didn't happen. But yeah, so I've seen that DDT. I think I didn't get to go to the DDT show in New York this year. I did Mania weekend, but I couldn't go up until the next day. So I've only seen maybe like Kenny Omega, stuff like that. On Big Japan, I've seen Sakamoto and Takeda. And I think that actually might be pretty much it there. So, yeah, now I think about it, I haven't seen most of the people. Dragon Gate, I've seen a good amount of them, but...
yeah, because Dragon Gate USA and stuff.
Yeah, Dragon Gate USA, especially used to run Philadelphia a lot. So,
yeah,
I've been lucky enough to see a lot of those guys. But, yeah, the big 3 shows, I really haven't seen that many of them. So, pretty excited for that. A long-winded way to say no, I haven't seen them.
No, it's cool. That's a great. I'm glad you went into all that detail. The only company that's left for me that I haven't seen live that I really, really, really want to is All Japan.
I was really bummed because I made this trip, just looking at what the dates made sense and everything, and they're running Korakuen the day after I leave.
That happens, I swear to God, on every fucking trip. Yeah. I promise you, every trip you ever book, there will be something on the day you leave. and something on the day after where you're like, motherfucker.
Yeah,
that happened to me. That happened to me on this last trip with Stardom. They were running like a Korakuen on the fucking day I left, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, there's an All Japan, I think the day I leave, and then Sendai Girls and Korakuen the day after that.
So,
it's
the way Japanese wrestling shows are. It's like no matter when you leave, there will be something.
Because I kept obviously I knew what week it was, and I kept checking to see if there would be more Korakuen things added, and there's really not that many when I'm there, which is fine. I'm actually fine to only see 5 wrestling shows. I say only, it's still a lot. I'm fine to just do that and then kind of do other stuff too, not completely, oversaturate myself. But at the same time, I was just kind of kept looking, and there just wasn't really anything at Korakuen that kept getting announced, and I was just a little bit bummed about that. But it's like I said, it's not too big of a deal. But I was hoping to see, because I'm all about just the bucket list guys, and who knows how many opportunities you have to see somebody like Jun Akiyama, like Miyahara. He's another big one, but might be able to see that for the next decade. But Jun Akiyama, you never know. So hopefully I'll be able to take him off the bucket list at some point.
Yeah, I mean, next fall when I go, it's like if All Japan's running I don't know, fucking 2 hours from Tokyo, I'm gonna fucking find a way to go, unless it's up against the G1 final or something.
Right.
It'd be on trip number 4. Basically, trip number 1, the Allen trip I made, I could have gone to All Japan at Korakuen, and I picked to go see the band who does the opening to the show. Actually, Sakan Action, who does the Omakase opening. I decided to go see them, and it's basically ever since then, All Japan's been punishing me for it, because the next 2 trips, there's been nothing basically. I think both times they were just either not running at all, or they were running in fucking Kyushu or something. So it never worked out. So I'm hoping on this 4th trip, if I have to go, to some fucking, bumblefuck to see a house show, I guess I'll have to do that, because I can't keep putting them off. It's just getting ridiculous. But yeah, you're not seeing a New Japan, which is pretty rare, I guess.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Like I said, I just kind of got the idea in this trip, and it made sense with work schedule and timing and all that stuff, just to do it around this. I was hoping there would be some sort of New Japan thing, but then I kind of realized pretty quickly that it would be around Power Struggle, and that after, before Power Struggle, there's going to be shows, but afterwards there probably won't be many. So I just kind of disappointing, but at the same time, I've seen most of the New Japan guys, and I would love to see it in Japan, because obviously there is a spectacle and gravitas to seeing it there. But again, this is just the first trip, so hopefully, skip it this time, and then next time.
Yeah, it's funny. They're coming to America while you're there.
I know.
It's kind of amusing. That I guess that will happen to more and more people now with the the New Japan of America news and everything. You'll come over to Japan and find out that New Japan is coming here. So
right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess Taylor, to jump in, do you have any tips for Kevin and or for the listener, on how to best enjoy their Japanese wrestling trip?
I'm trying to think back to my first trip. I mean, the first trip, John, you were with me, which sort of helped as someone who had gone. So I didn't really have that many worries, because I knew that anything I didn't know about, I probably did just ask you about.
So Taylor's tip is go with John.
Yeah, I guess. No, but I would say I think a lot of people, especially when I talk to people about going, not even wrestling fans, just generally, just people, when I'm like, hey, I went to Japan, I think most people's worry is about the language barrier. And I would say, don't worry about it, because English will get you by in about 90% of the places you'll end up. Because even on 2 trips, I'm trying to remember a place where, I don't even recall a place where I went where I couldn't, either get food if it was a restaurant where I couldn't get food, or I couldn't do something because I spoke English, and I can't think of anywhere.
Do you know where the only place I can think of is we went to this like half aquarium / half like amusement park in Yokohama, and you think that would be a touristy area, you think they would know English and like they do seemingly everywhere else, but the people working the food stand there had no English at all, and they didn't have English menus or anything. So I guess they don't get a lot of like outside of Japan tourists. But that was probably the most difficult, I guess.
Yeah, but even that
then I would, yeah,
that restaurant we went to that was like a hole in the wall, and they pulled the chef out of the back because he was the only person. Like, so it's funny because everyone goes and they're like, "Oh, I don't speak," but Japanese people often will bend over backwards to be like, "Oh, this person speaks English. We got to help them out." So, like that guy coming out of the back, like we didn't, they didn't have to do that, but they did it, and it helped, so that we could order because the menu was in Japanese and I think it had no photos, or had photos, and we couldn't tell what it was.
Yeah, very limited photos, I think.
So yeah, because that's always the number one question I get, where they're like, "Oh, I don't speak any Japanese." I could never go. I don't speak any Japanese, and I'm like, "Yeah, just don't worry about it."
Yeah, I was always just like let things get in the way of the language, the like being intimidated, and then I just decided that I'm just like. At first, I thought I was going to go by myself. I'm actually going with a friend that I've done a lot of wrestling trips with. But when I first started, I thought it was just be solo, and then I was just like, none of this is really a big deal. I'll figure it all out. So then, once I got in that mindset, it just kind of like. Whatever happens, and that's it. So,
yeah. But yeah, like Taylor's point is great. Just if you don't know any Japanese, I mean, I feel like if you really want to study anything before you go there, I would say look up. I mean, this is something you can study very quickly. Like try to memorize katakana, because like the katakana written language, which is just like it's not like kanji, but there's like 2,000 of them. It's like everything katakana and hiragana both are like just they're just like an alphabet. It's like each one's like a sound or whatever. If you know katakana, you'll be able to read a lot of little things in menus that are foreign loan words. So like I don't know, if you know how to read the katakana language, you can sound out like this is burger. It'll be like baga or something. I don't know. If you want to try to learn katakana, I think that would be helpful. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to do that. I just think that's like a nice, like if you're looking to study something before you go. But you can totally get by with just nothing, and especially with just like pointing and hoping for the best. As far as like before we get into anything else, actually, before we get like the previews, kind of lost my train of thought there. But I just remembered I need to give the results from the fancy draft last week. So before we get into specific shows, this is what happened with the Omakase 2019 fancy draft. So if you listened to last week's episode, we had it was 5 guests. It was me versus 4 guests in the fancy draft. And we asked you to vote on the winner, who you thought had the best super card. So I'm going to give the results really quickly, 5th to 1st. Craig was in last place with 13%. Jeff was in 4th place with 17% of the votes. Tied for 2nd was Andrew and Jack with 21% each. And in 1st was me with 29%. So congratulations to me on my 2019 Omakase Fancy Draft victory. My strategy of pandering to the Joshi vote, I think, definitely paid off. So there you go. Not just pandering, because I also would like to see most of the matches I booked, but definitely the Joshi fans definitely show up for you when you book half your card being Joshi, and everybody else books like one woman's match. Worked out for me. But there you go. That's the Omakase Fantasy Draft. If you enjoyed that last week, I would say try to tune back in probably next year. Maybe we'll do more than one Fantasy Draft episode next year, but we wanted to bring that back just for 1 week. So let's get into the previews then. We're going to start with the Noah show. We're going to go pretty much in chronological order. There's 2 shows on the 3rd, so we'll get to that when we get to it. But first of all, the first of the 3 straight Sumo Hall shows is Noah the Best 2019. The subtitle is Battle of Aesthetics. So That's a interesting subtitle. It's airing. It takes place on Friday, November 2nd, from Sumo Hall. Saturday, November 2nd. I'm sorry, Saturday, November 2nd from Sumo Hall. The only thing that kind of sucks about this show, and compared to the rest of them we're on here, obviously this doesn't mean anything to Kevin since he's going to be there. But for me and Taylor and everybody else not in Japan, this is the only show we're going to talk about this week that is not airing live anywhere. Noah, of course, does not have their own streaming service. They're not airing live on Samurai or anything. This show is going to air on the G Plus cable or satellite network in Japan on Sunday, November 10th. So not like a super long wait for the show, but even 8 days is kind of long compared to instant. Is that disappointing to you, Taylor? Wouldn't you prefer to see the show live?
I mean, sure, I'd prefer to see every show live, but with these type of shows, I mean, especially me being a Joshi fan, I don't think almost nothing airs live with that. So I'm sort of used to it. It is sort of a bummer, especially because the two other big shows are going to be out live, but it sort of is what it is, I think.
Yeah. And obviously the other issue with this show being the only one of the three that doesn't air live is, of course, I would worry a little bit, I guess, especially among Western fans, that the show will get buried, kind of under the rubble when it comes to the other shows. But maybe it'll stand out. Maybe it'll be like, wow, this is the only one airing that weekend instead of...
Yes, the thing is, there's Power Struggle, there's Dragon Gate Show, there's DDT, and there's Big Japan. Yeah. So Noah being a week later might not be a bad thing.
Yeah. And this show, of course, they did a preview of this on the flagship this week as well, on the Voices of Wrestling flagship. So you can definitely check that out if you're interested. There was an interesting discussion on there. I don't know if you guys heard it, but of what a good number would be. And I feel like you can talk about that a little bit, like the business side of it. Because business in Tokyo right now is very interesting, where the Korakuens are all pretty down. If you look at the Korakuen attendances, that happened again for DDT this weekend, drawing one of their weakest Korakuen crowds in a while. And at the same time, I sort of wonder if it might have something to do with the fact that they're running Ryogoku 3 times in a weekend. On top of that, there's also a consumption tax hike in Japan that I think might have something to do with it. And also the storm that went through. We were talking about this in the Voice of Wrestling Slack earlier, the storm, the typhoon, people probably had to buy supplies and, repairs afterwards. So that probably might have something to do with it too. But so I'd be interested to see what kind of crowds these Ryogoku shows do. What crowds the promotions will be happy with. The DT show, I think of the three, is the one that's in the best shape from tickets sold so far. It looks like it's doing really well. And I've heard people say estimates of around maybe between 5,500 and 6,500, which I think they'll be very happy with, especially after the two shows earlier this year did around 4,000. For Noah, what do you guys think they would be happy with? What are they looking for here? Do you think they want to see something above 3,000? Do you think they really would like to get above 4,000? What do you think, Kevin?
I'm not going to lie. Attendance figures are so meaningless to me that I don't ever really think about them too much. So I'm very sorry, but I don't know. Anything, I feel like Noah just isn't really that big of a thing right now. So I think I saw somebody say that they felt like a good number would be between more than Big Japan and less than DDT. That might even been you that said that, John.
Yeah.
So that sounds right to me. I mean, they're not going to beat DDT, but if they can beat Big Japan, that sounds good. But yeah, I don't know. It's a brand that doesn't seem that hot, but I guess that it's kind of changed a bit since the new ownership and everything. But
now that does beg the question of what you think Big Japan will do. And last year, to give context here, they did 3,880, which I think is a little high for them, actually. I'm going to look back at some previous years to see. 2017, the 2017 they did 3,179, which is more what I think of when I think of a Big Japan Ryogoku number. In 2016, they did 3293. So they seem to be more often around, the low 3000s. But last year they did, almost 4000. So I'm sure for Big Japan, they would be thrilled if they did almost 4,000 again.
I don't think there's any way that happens.
Yeah.
Does not. Last year you had the Takeda title run that was really great and pretty hot. And this year, Big Japan has really not felt like that at all. And plus both title matches, I guess Kodaka versus Miyamoto, which we'll talk about more, like that can feel a bit more like a main event. But the other one is the strong title match, Saito versus Daichi. That just kind of feels out of the blue and not very hot there. So I think what it's banking on is the anniversary matches that are on it, but I still don't know if that will really draw too many people. So I'm expecting that number to be pretty, I guess, closer to 3,000 than 4,000.
Now, do you think it could even get below 3,000?
It's possible. I guess it's a holiday, so maybe it'll do better, but it's the third show of a big weekend, so it could easily get buried there.
I'm going to give – here's what I think will happen. I do think Noah will land right between DDT and Big Japan. I think the closer Noah is to 4,000, the more they'll be happy. So if Noah does that number Big Japan did last year, if Noah does like 3880, I think they'll be pretty happy. If Noah does closer to 3, I think they'll be more like, eh. And then anything under 3 will be like a disaster for Noah. Big Japan, I mean, they just seem – we will talk about it when we get to the promotion. They seem very cold. So, I'm sure they'll be happy just to stay above 3, like you were saying. So if they do like 3,200 or something like they've done in past years, I'm sure that'll be fine. And DDT, to me, looks like they're on pace. I mean, DDT's already sold a ton of tickets, so, I think their range right now is probably between 55 and 65. So we'll see where they landed there. You have any thoughts on all this ticket talk, Taylor?
Yeah, I think I think Noah could do well because it is the first show of the 3. And for the same reason, I think Big Japan could probably do worse is because they're the last of the 3. I think I would be more surprised if Big Japan does a big number and Noah does a small number than I would be if Noah does a big number and Big Japan does a small number. And I think DDT, they run Sumo Hall. I mean, I don't know that I call it regularly, but enough where I think that they're probably going to draw in the people they would draw in regardless of whether these two other shows were happening or not. So I think that they're probably pretty safe in the middle. But yeah, I mean, I could see a world in which it's like 4,000, 5,500 or something, and then 3,000. Just because I think when you run Sumo Hall, you sort of hope to get people in who might just be like, oh, there's a show happening at Sumo Hall. Sure, I'll go to that. But the question is, are they going to pick if they're going to pick one show out of 3 to go to sort of randomly, I guess that's probably not the right word, but is it going to be Big Japan, which, as we've already mentioned, is not that hot? Or is it going to be Noah, who, doesn't really run Sumo Hall? And I think in my mind, now I'm a fan of the promotion, I think it's a pretty strong card. And they've also got, people coming in who aren't, Kobashi and Choshu coming in. So I think that they could actually do a surprisingly good number. But I'm no Nostradamus when it comes to this stuff. I'm no expert, so who knows?
And then DET too. Obviously, DET. It's going to be interesting to see how that. Like, let's say they do like the 6,000 that I think people are expecting. It's going to be interesting to see if people give more of the credit to Kenny, who I'm sure deserves some of the credit because I'm sure he's drawing some New Japan fans. Or to I think there was a lot of excitement around that Ultimate Party thing even before Kenny was announced, because I definitely saw people going wild for that on like Japanese social media and stuff. So, the Ultimate Party thing being like all the different DDT sub brands being on one show. So I think ticket sales were actually doing pretty damn well even before Kenny was announced. But, I'm sure Kenny deserves, at least some of the credit too. So that'll be an interesting one. But on the other hand, you could say Kenny's not really in like a drawing match, quote unquote, but just him showing back up in Japan for the first time since Wrestle Kingdom this year, I'm sure is going to be, part of the draw there.
Although with the placement on the card, you might think that the promotion thinks it is third from the top, right? Second? Oh yeah, second from the top in the order. So, I mean, I think to the promotion, it has some drawing aspect to it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say Kenny doesn't deserve any credit at all, to be clear. I think he deserves probably quite a bit of credit. But I think this is more about establishing him in DDT and then maybe getting him ready for, a big drawing match down the line, whether it's against Takashita or anybody else. I mean, Takashita would make the most sense. So I think a lot of people are already kind of penciling that in for when they're running Saitama Super Arena next year. Okay, so let's talk about the Noah card first of all. On November 2nd, it opens up with a match with the title Noah the Classic, Akitachi Saito and Masao Inoue versus Tomo Honda and Mitsuo Mimoda. Obviously, this is your old guys opener. Get some of the old school Noah names out there. Any thoughts on this little opener here?
I mean, I'm pretty excited. Just the idea of seeing like Tamon Honda live, even though it'll just be in the first match. I didn't expect to see that many of like the older Noah guys, so I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't really expect this to be too good at all, but I think it'll be pretty fun. And like I said, seeing him is pretty cool. So that's what I got on that one.
Yeah, I don't have too much on this. I don't really have too much on this match, so yeah.
In a way, I always enjoy saying, so I'm kind of happy. He's a funny. He's one of those guys that aged really well, but he's always been kind of like just this fucking goofball. So I enjoy him when he pops back up every once in a while. Match number 2: Mohamed Yone, Quiet Storm, Hiroki, Hitoshi Kumano, Junta Miyawaki, and Soniko versus Kazushi Sakuraba, Kazuma Sakamoto, Ohio Wagner Jr., Hajime Ohara, Nosawa Rangai, and Kinya Okada.
Before we start, Sonico is injured. So he got replaced by Nishimura.
Who the hell's that?
Osamu Nishimura.
Oh, Osamu Nishimura. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, now you.
Oh no! I thought that was like some fucking young boy. They called up Osamu Nishimura to replace some fucking guy off the street from Seattle. Where the fuck that guy is? That's a little weird.
I guess I don't know.
Anyway, Nishimura. Yes, he's the old school New Japan guy who is a Fujiwara disciple, or not Fujiwara. You know what I mean. Anyway.
See, now John has to give the history of Nishimura just to backtrack a little bit to cover it up.
Well, I don't know. He just said Nishimura. I thought like if you just said Okada, I would have thought that that was a Noah Young Lion, not fucking Kazuchika. But anyway, give your thoughts on this match, Kevin.
Really, this one I don't have too many thoughts on. It just seems like your typical undercard multi-man type of match. I mean, I appreciate the fact that it's kind of weird, but I don't even know if it'll be long enough to like the weirdness to really like pay off. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it'll probably be fine, but I don't really have too many expectations for it.
12-man tag in like 8 minutes is going to be something. I realize I said Fujiwara, so I meant Fujinami, obviously. Taylor, what do you think about this 12-man tag?
I'm excited. Sakuraba, I've always liked him, so I'm glad that he's back somewhere where I can see him again. I love Kazuma, probably my vote for most improved this year. So I sort of like the one team, the Segura Army, more than the other. I'm sort of more excited to see them more than the other side, which is just sort of a collection of people. But yeah, as you said, it'll be short, and I'm sure people will be running in and out of the ring just to get their time. But it's always good. I know DDT does this to the extreme with their shows, but it's good on a big show like this to get a lot of people involved and get them their moment to perform on the big stage.
I want to mention Hitoshi Kumano, because I haven't seen a ton of Noah this year. I assume both of you see more than me. Has he done anything? Because I just feel like that's a guy who, he's like one of these like lost Noah guys where it's like, he came up as a young boy, still in his mid-20s, but it just feels like he's done nothing since, he had the Backbreakers team for a little while, but like really just hasn't done anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch it religiously, and sometimes I'm dipping in and out, and I haven't seen a ton from him this year, so that probably lines up with what you're talking about, that he hasn't done much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because Backbreakers even broke up, right? Because here they're on separate teams.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
him and O'Hara, but I mean, there's another guy that hasn't really done anything this year, I guess, is O'Hara. But like O'Hara, at least, he did stuff in the past where it's like, I don't know, like Kumano just never feels like he did anything. But I don't know. I guess they were junior tag champions for like 2 seconds, but I don't know. Do you feel any differently than me about Kumano, Kevin? Do you think he's had a great career so far?
I've got no opinions. I'm sorry.
There you go. That name just really stuck out to me as like, what is this guy doing exactly? But match number 3, Eddie Edwards on loan from Impact, teaming up with Atsushi Kotoge and Chris Ridgway, I guess from MLW, right? Ridgway? Versus
Ridgway is from England.
Oh, okay. Who's the one from MLW? Confusing him with.
You're thinking of Alex Hammerstone.
Thank you. Who's not on this show, I guess, as far as I can tell. But yeah, so Edwards, Kotoge, and Ridgway against Masaki Mochizuki from Dragon Gate, Minoru Tanaka, and Super Crazy. This match looks awesome.
Yeah, this is great.
Like, even though I have no idea who Chris Ridgway is, the other 5 wrestlers are really cool. Minoru Tanaka, he's one of those guys who just like somehow, despite being, an old man at this point, he never looks bad. He always looks great when I see him. What do you think of this one, Kevin?
This match is awesome. I think that it's kind of funny that they're bringing in Eddie Edwards, a former champion, to be in like this weird 6-man, but it's cool. Who's the third guy on the team? I don't have it in front of me. Who's the third guy on their team? Oh, Takoge.
Yeah.
So,
Takoge, yeah.
So yeah, that's a cool team. And then Mochizuki is the man. He's probably one of my favorite wrestlers. So yeah, just the combination of everything. I'm really excited for this 10 minutes sprint. I think it's going to be awesome. And Super Crazy too. Like he's not really great, but just the idea of seeing Super Crazy there, especially with those other guys, is interesting. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. This is the type of match I like on these big shows. Just the kind of like fun. You don't have to think too much about it, but it'll be entertaining type of undercard match.
Well, what do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, it looks good. I like the combination of guys. And I have seen some Ridgway in Noah. He actually joined Stinger, I think, right after the Misawa show I went to when I was in Japan. So he's fit in real well. He strikes me as, sort of this sort of like Chris Brooks in DDT, where he came over and, fit in well almost immediately. And now he's in Stinger.
Yeah, his style is a real like striky kind of shooty style through the British lens, but still like that's more of what he does, the strikes and kicks and that type of thing.
That does sound pretty cool.
Yeah, so it should be a good match.
Match number 4: Shuhei Taniguchi 1-on-1 with Kazuki Fujita old Ironhead is here. What do you think of this one, Kevin? Are you excited? I am like really excited for this one. I'm sure it won't be like good, but I just the idea of fucking Maybach and fucking Ironhead in the ring together. I just really am like very curious about it.
Yeah, it's probably going to be bad, but hopefully it's entertaining regardless. And I don't like. I'm really so Fujita is a guy that is really intriguing to me. The idea of seeing him, because I just want to see like what the reaction to him is in person, because it's really hard to gauge, because he's a guy that different companies bring in at different points, like All Japan brought in a few years ago for their big show and stuff. And I don't think like current Fujita really translates very well to a Western audience, because he doesn't wrestle that much. He's not that great. He's kind of slow, but like he kind of still does feel like a star. So I'm really excited to see what being in the building for a match of his is like, if people treat him as such, or if it's just kind of like no reaction, or what the deal is. I'm very curious.
What about you, Taylor? What do you got on this one?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I like when companies, and Noah's been doing it a lot. They had Rhino on the N1 final show, but I'm excited to see Fujita against someone who will probably be represented as more his equal in Taniguchi, and see what kind of match they have. His match on the N1 finals, it was sort of interesting, but also the match itself, wasn't very memorable. Just because it was clearly bringing him in to sort of dominate as a way to, wrap him back into the company. So I'm excited to see how this match goes. I always like when people sort of, or I shouldn't say people, but companies, sort of do these more wacky things on the undercard, rather than just, two people already in the company, or a bunch of people already in the company going up against each other. So I'm looking forward to it. And like Kevin, interested to see how people react now that he's more, now that he's had a few matches, he's been on a few shows, just to see if people still are excited to see him, or still reacting to him. So, yeah.
Match number 5, the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Yoshinori Ogawa and Kotaro Suzuki defending against Daisuke Harada and Tadasuke. So this is an interesting one. I'm not as down on Tadasuke as some people. I think he's, maybe it's just because I saw him. Were you at that show too, Kevin, when he showed up in Chikara and fought Eddie Kingston?
Yes, I was at that show.
That match was awesome. So maybe that's why I always have a little soft spot for the guy. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Honestly, you bring it up. When I think of all 3 of the Osaka Pro guys that are in Noah now, Tokoge, sorry, I'm terrible with pronunciation, so I'm sorry.
Kotoge, yeah.
But Harada and Tadasuke, that's what I think of, is them in Shikara. So I will always associate them with Shikara, even more than Noah, even though they both, or all 3, have been there much more than they were in Shikara. But yeah, I thought that Kingston match was like pretty good. It was when Kingston was like really good character, but his matches weren't that great. But I thought that match was all right. But honestly, I Noah is kind of a promotion that like I dip in on here and there, but I don't like watch every show or anything. So like he's a guy that I haven't really seen that much of since he's gotten there. So with this more so, it just feels like the Noah Junior tag scene is kind of interesting, just because like the matches seemed pretty decent, but like I never got as like I remember a year or two ago, kind of people were hyping up their scene a little bit. It never quite clicked with me, but I'm really excited to see like Ogawa and Harada interact and that type of thing. So I think that this should be decent, but I don't have any huge expectations or anything.
I do want to mention too, I think there's at least a pretty good chance there's a title change here, just because Kotaro and Ogawa have held these belts since February, and they've made 5 defenses of them, including a double countout with this very team of Harada and Tadasuke. back on October 3rd at Korakuen. So maybe, I mean, that could be the thing where like maybe, Kotaro and Ogawa, the two would get the win here, but I could see instead, going the other way with Vattel's getting the belts. What do you think, Taylor? What do you think about this match?
Yeah, I'm excited for this match. I actually saw Ogawa and Suzuki. They faced off against the other half of Vattel's on the Noah show that I went to in Japan, which was a match I thought was really, really good. So I'm excited to see the other half of the team take them on. I think it will be good. I think Ogawa and Suzuki are a really good team. So I think they're someone you can put a lot of people against and have good matches. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah. So there's match number 5. Up next then is match number 6, which is for the GHC Junior Heavyweight title. Hayata versus Yohei. So I have no idea what the fuck is going on here with Hayata and Yohei. Maybe this is like one of those things where if I watched a lot more Noah, it would make more sense. But it feels like they just turn on each other and then get back together and then fight each other again. I'm like, I don't really know what the story here is. Like, are they in Stinger together now? Or is it still Rattel's? Or what the fuck? I don't know. Do you have any idea, Kevin, what's going on here?
I have no clue what's going on.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna take a guess. This may be wrong, and so people can I don't know, bury me somewhere else. But they went to break apart earlier in the year, and then they were together because they were together for the Junior Tag League. Because they were in the finals. And I think now it's just a sort of friendly rivalry thing, I think. But I'm not sure. Yeah. It could be. Because I think they're still together, or they were back in June. And then they faced each other in the same match for the championship at one finals. Yeah. But I don't know the story as to why the match is happening again. That's the part I don't know about.
So that would make me think Yohei's going to win here, since Hayata just beat him on September 16th at the N1 finals. But I guess who knows? I don't really know what knows. Like the heavyweight division, I have more of an idea on that. The junior stuff, I really don't have a clue what's going on here. So I'm glad neither of you do either, I guess. But yes, match number 7, 4th from the top, the GHC tag team titles. Katsuhiko Nakajima and Go Shiozaki will be defending against Masato Kitamiya and Yoshiki Inamura. So, a lot of people have been talking up Nakajima and Shiozaki as tag team of the year. Do you buy into that at all, Kevin?
The main matches that I've seen of them this year were the ones against Sugera and Sakamoto. Kazuma. Why am I drawing a blank here?
Sakamoto, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. I feel like I'm not in the podcast. Burning Spirits went away, and I'm not as refined as I was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So got to get back into it. But anyway, so I really liked those matches a lot. So I think that I don't know how deep this year's tag team pool really is. I mean, you have like the Young Bucks, but they haven't had that many matches, and anybody in AEW, which has probably the best tag team division around, they haven't had that many matches. So I mean, it feels like a shallow pool this year. So if anybody is having more than a few standout ones, I would definitely buy that argument.
And any thoughts on this match in particular?
I really am interested to see, like, Shiozaki and Nakajima are two guys that I like a lot, and I'm very excited to see them live. And I feel like Kitamiya is a guy that's going to have a lot of be really good. Yeah, sorry. I thought I butchered that name too. I was like, man, I had to look it up. But yeah, Kitamiya is a guy I feel like would really have a live aura. So I'm really excited to see the interactions there too.
Inamura,
yes. Inamura, I honestly don't know too much about because, like I said, Noah is one of those promotions I don't follow super heavy. So him, I don't know too much about. So I'm excited to see a guy who I don't really know in a major match like this, with a lot more of established guys. I hope that it's a thing where maybe he can step up or break out or whatever it is, and really just kind of solidify himself in this.
So I want to Inamura. If people listening to this aren't aware of that guy, if they're also not regular Noah viewers, he's only been around since last November. His debut was November 23rd of 2018. So he's a guy that Noah has really like fast tracked. If you look at it, where he had a 7-match trial series earlier this year, and he obviously went over 7 as tradition. But after that, he really started stepping up with the team with Kiyamiya. He was included in the new, Congo unit with Kenoh and Kiyamiya. So I think he's really stepped up. I think, and like has filled an important role there. So they really see something in him, and they've really fast tracked him to stardom. Taylor, what do you think of this match? And if you want to, dip in on the AXIZ. Is that have said AXIZ? AXIZ? I don't even know.
I think AXIZ.
Okay, AXIZ.
I think.
What if they want their tag team of the year case?
I mean, I think they have a great case. As Kevin said, it's sort of a weak year for Like, I'm just trying to go through and think of other tag teams that I would really vote for, and I am sort of drawing a blank. I mean, the only issue with it is that they're in Noah. And I just feel like any promotion outside of these big major promotions, it's always difficult to, sort of go to bat for these people, because most people will go, well, I don't even watch that promotion, and sort of that's that. I think in a world where sort of everyone watches every promotion equally, I think they have as good a chance as anyone. They've had a lot of really great matches. Now they've had the benefit of some great opponents, as to where for this match, not to saying they have bad opponents, but as you were mentioning, Inamura is still fairly young and new to wrestling. So it's really the question of, how high the match quality will go. I think that if they do manage to get a strong match, which certainly is possible, here on this sort of big show, because I think of, I'm trying to think of any other show this year. This will be probably the show that gets the most hype among sort of the general wrestling crowd, just because it's part of this weekend. It's in Sumo Hall. It's got a lot of other names that people will know on it, with, Muda and Michael Elgin and people like that, and Eddie Edwards. So if they have a great match, I could see it to where people say, oh, this team is great, and someone else says, oh, they've had a lot of other great matches this year, and people go back and search them out. But I just am always concerned, as someone who watches a lot of Joshi, having people have great matches in promotions that not a lot of people are watching, even if it's a weak year, it's sometimes hard to get people's eyeballs onto the product, even if the matches are strong.
And then what do you think about any more thoughts on this match specifically?
No, as I said, it's, the other matches with Segura and Sakamoto, it's a little bit, you look at those 4 talents, and, you can see how the matches would be very strong. Those are 4 really strong guys, especially, as I said, with Sakamoto having, a big year in ring, improving, especially in the tag situations. And I just don't know, it certainly could reach the heights, but I wouldn't be surprised if, 2 weeks from now we're watching the show and the match, it could turn out to be a disappointment. And I don't know that I would be super surprised at that, just with the, especially with Inamura being so young and a little bit inexperienced. He's going to be leaned on a lot in a match with only 4 guys in it. So yeah, could fall anywhere in terms of the quality of the match.
And I think it will be good. I have enough confidence in these guys, but we'll see. I don't see a title change here, especially with Inamura being so, new to wrestling still, but I guess stranger things have happened. Third from the top, Naomichi Marufuji one-on-one with the Great Muta. Obviously, this is your match to help draw in some casual fans with the big building to fill and all. I don't know if you're necessarily going to get a classic here, given the state of both guys, but I'm sure the crowd will be very into it at least. Kevin, what are your thoughts on seeing Marufuji and Muta live?
I'm incredibly excited for this. Like, I don't know if this is going to be good. My best, the best case is that it's 10 minutes long, super hot crowd, spectacle. Both guys hit their spots and don't try to do too much, right? I worry that it's going to drag and that the crowd might not be as into the middle parts of it. But again, how good it is doesn't really matter. It's all about seeing Great Muta in Noah in Sumo Hall against the biggest homegrown Noah legend still there. So, I'm really excited just for the atmosphere and the spectacle. This is the type of match I want on a big show, and especially something to see. You'll never get a chance to see matches, or you don't get a chance to see matches like this very often. So even if it's not that great, it doesn't really matter just because of how big it is, theoretically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean.
So yeah, I'm this is one of the things of the whole trip that I'm really most excited about.
What are your thoughts on the one, Taylor?
Well, not to put a wet blanket on it, but I have been burned one too many times by Marufuji big showcase matches at Sumo Hall. Now those were for DDT, and this is obviously Noah, his home promotion. But I mean, I think the last 2 or 3 Marufuji matches in Sumo Hall have been, to me, not good at all. And those were against fairly strong, he went up against Endo and, fairly strong competition. I don't know. I didn't see Muta at WrestleMania weekend, but I don't know how well he's even moving around the ring.
Oh, not very well at all.
I didn't think so. So, I'm sure for Kevin being there live, that would probably be an exciting moment because you're there with the crowd, and I think being there live helps. No matter what the match is, they're all helped by that. I don't know that sitting on my couch watching this match if I'll have the same excitement, but it's certainly possible. Marufuji is all over the place, it seems like nowadays, where he could pull it out and really go for it. I think I've said that the last few times that we've talked about Marufuji matches at Sumo Hall, and then I come back on the show and I go, "Ooh, it wasn't great."
Yeah, I mean, that's a very fair, and I agree about the DDT matches, but you'd think in Noah Sumo Hall against Great Muta that he would do his best to really make it a thing, a big deal. But you easily could be right, but. I don't know. I'm hoping for the best case on this one. And whatever it is, honestly, even if it's bad, I think that I'll be fairly satisfied no matter what.
The semi-main event, the semifinal, the GHC national title, first champion decision match, Takashi Sugera, one-on-one with Michael Elgin. First of all, I'm going to say the negatives. I don't really think it's a great idea for Noah to introduce a secondary heavyweight title. I don't think they have the roster size that necessarily makes that either necessary or, a good thing. I think it's, always kind of a bad thing to me when you're taking away the focus from, look, when you introduce a secondary title, it takes away the focus from your heavyweight title to a degree, but I almost think it takes away more of the focus from your heavyweight tag titles, because your heavyweight tag titles is usually in a promotion without a secondary heavyweight title. That is your secondary title basically. And you can see here with these big names fighting for it versus a New Japan, IWGP tag title match, especially on a big show, it's going to be nothing. I would worry about that long term, worry about losing focus on your heavyweight tag titles. So that's the negative number one. Negative number two, obviously, not a lot of people want to see, especially in the West, people don't really, there's people who don't really want to see Michael Elgin. And I totally get that. As far as like on the other side of the coin, though, I do think just from a pure match quality standpoint, this has potential. And I think, in the semi-main event here, they'll both try really hard, and they're both very good wrestlers, especially Sugera. So that's good. I'm sure this will be a good semi-main event, but I just wanted to get that out of the way first. I don't like the idea of introducing another title. And, lots of people don't really want to see Michael Elgin. What do you think, Kevin?
I think that this should be a pretty good match. So I generally, I'm real up and down on Elgin, just strictly from a wrestling standpoint. There was a period in New Japan a few years ago where not even a few years ago, like a year or two ago, where he was great. Almost every match, his style, he really figured out how to make it click and work, and it was kind of over excessive, but it kind of worked with everything that was going on there. And he had like an incredible match with Okada in the G1. And I know that he had a match that you thought was really great against Naito at one of the New Beginnings. So he can be really great. But then since all of the out of the ring stuff really popped up with Elgin, and like he was still in New Japan, I think he really tried to overcompensate, and his style got too over the top and tried to do way too much, and the matches got brutally long, and it just didn't. His formula just stopped working. But he was still just trying to shoehorn it in. So I really don't know what I'm going to feel after this match, because I feel like he's not really going to change up what he does too much. Like, he's not a wrestler that deals with nuance very well. So, and he doesn't adapt to crowds or anything. He just kind of, this is my match and this is my style and this is it. So I could see Sugera being a wrestler that he can really work with, because it's that big, meaty, strong, stiff style that Elgin can really play into. But if the chemistry isn't there, or something doesn't click, I could see it just being way too long and just dragging and not connecting very well. So I don't know. Like, when I saw this, I thought it'd be a good match, but it easily could go in the other direction.
What do you think, Taylor? Taylor?
Yeah, Kevin sort of covered all the points that I was going to make. I was just thinking, do you think I would think, I don't know if anyone disagrees, that Sugera would win this match. But do you think there might be a possibility where he wins and then takes away some of the drawing power of the heavyweight title? I mean, I feel like I could see that happening, where Sugera wins it and people start, I don't know how they're going to use the title, so I guess this is all sort of guesswork. But I could see a world where Sugera wins the title and then all of a sudden his shows draw pretty well, and then the heavyweight, shows with heavyweight title matches on the top sort of sag a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't really know, I don't know how long this, it's possible in a year we're talking about, remember when they introduced the national championship and then that went away. We've seen that happen a bunch with a lot of different promotions. So it's sort of hard to say in terms of predicting into the future, especially with a, company with, only one big singles title so far.
Did they have another title after that fucking hardcore open weight one that Jun Akiyama introduced for a while? That was the last one, right?
Let's see. I'm going to look at Cage Match because I don't even titles. No, it doesn't. Yeah, the hardcore open weight is the only other one listed.
I mean, that title was a very weird title, and like it almost felt at the time like it was as much to build up the Kobashi match as anything, and to build up Akiyama for the Kobashi Dome match, and it really didn't. I don't know. They never really did anything with it after that Kobashi match. It just kind of quickly went away like a few years later, I think. But like, I don't know. I wonder what. Actually, I'm going to check back because I'm curious. Did it say when the GHC open weight? When did it go away?
Open weight. It went away in December of 2009. So there were only
Oh,
nine.
wow.
There were only 9 champions, but they each held it for like a really long time. Like the shortest reign, looking at this, was 140 days,
Yeah.
which was Marufuji.
Yeah. So they did last a while, like 5 years after that. So that's interesting. I would have thought it was like 06 or 07. But yeah, like it was like Akiyama, Marufuji, Mohamed Yone, Scorpio, Shiga became a tag title for 2 seconds. Then Kawabata, Makoto Hashi, and then the last champion was Kenta Kobashi, which I totally forgot. He had that belt before he had that injury in 2009, and that was the end of the title. So yeah, that's the previous secondary, I guess, heavyweight title, and it was called openweight, but it was like the never title where they call it openweight, but juniors never fucking held it. But yeah, I mean that belt lasted a long time, so and without really being very important at all. So I guess we'll see what happens in the future with this national title. All right, so the main event, the GHC heavyweight title, Kaito Kiyomiya defending against Kenoh. First of all, the first thing I want to say is if you haven't seen it already, I know the Voice of Wrestling account retweeted it, but at Puro Dino, so Purodino on Twitter, she has a pinned tweet on top of her profile, which is a history of Kiyomiya and Kenoh. It's a great history. She goes into a ton of detail that we can't get into here just out of time constraints. But basically, these two they have so much history together. They're basically joined at the hip here. You know, they've beaten each other at different points. I mean, Kenoh defended against Kiyomiya right when Kiyomiya got back from excursion. I think it was 1/6/2018, right?
Yeah, that was the match that was like it. I don't remember where it finished in match of the year rankings, but it was up there.
Yeah, I remember. I think I gave that 4.5. It was really, really good. But yeah, so that's there, and then you have after that, Kenoh comes back and loses to Kiyomiya after Kenoh loses the title to Sugiura, and then Kiyomiya is the guy who beat Sugiura for the title, and then Kenoh was his first challenger, and Kaito beat him, and then they sent Kenoh back to the bottom of the card for a while. They teamed up again for the Global Tag League, and then after the Global Tag League, there was like another split where basically Kenoh said he got angry at Kaito for being basically a company man and wanted to rebel against him. And that led to the forming of Congo, which is like this, basically it's like diamond is what that means or something. So that led to the forming of that unit with Kitamiya and Inamura. And then Kenoh finally beat Sugiura in the N1 finals this year. And that led to Kenoh challenging Kiyomiya here. I think this is I know some people are like, oh, I don't know about trying to put Kenoh and Kiyomiya in the main event. I think it's great that they did this. This is exactly what I would do. Load up the undercard with big names and put fucking Great Muta there. But your fucking main event should be your 2 biggest current stars, whether they've necessarily been humongous, whether or not they've done super well. You want your Ryogoku spot, your main event spot, to be your 2 biggest current stars like this. I think it's a great idea to try to put them in that position, tell the public these are the 2 biggest guys we have right now. They're not legends of the past. They're not Sugiura, who's great, but he's been around forever. These are 2 guys that we see as top guys right now. Our biggest feud that's been going on for the last 2 years. I think that's great. I totally agree with that decision. So I have to disagree with anyone who says that this shouldn't have been the main event. As far as who's going to win it, I think it's going to be Kaito. I just think it makes too much sense to give him the big moment, vanquishing his rival again at the end of Sumo Hall. I guess it wouldn't shock me if Kenoh won, but I think Kaito is probably the guy who's going to win here. And I just hope they have another really great match like that one we just talked about from 2018. I hope they really knock it out of the park and have a great showing here for Noah, because I think that'll be the best thing possible for Pro Wrestling Noah going forward. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I think that this match makes sense to me to put on top. It's kind of, I could see it being a match that they kind of want to turn into like a generational rivalry. So it makes sense to headline a big show with a match like that. Will it pay off in the short term? I don't know, but I think it will in the long term. So that makes sense to me. As far as who's going to win, I don't. It feels like the Kato reign has kind of run its course a little bit, but at the same time, like it seems like he should probably win the biggest match that he's ever had. So I guess I'll go for him, but I could be swayed either way.
What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, I think they've gone all in on Kiyomiya at this point. So I'm not sure that they could have really done any other match here because they've just invested so much time and energy into trying to, make him a new star that I think any other match on the top would have been seen as them bailing on this plan. And for that reason, I think Kiyomiya is going to win. I just think if you're trying to make this guy your number one star, he should win on the number one. I don't know when Sumo Hall, when Noah will run Sumo Hall again. It may, they may surprise me and it may be soon, or it may not be for a while. So I think if you're trying to make this guy a star, this is the opportunity to have him in the main event and win the main event, which I think gives you the best chance to get him over. And John, as you said, I'm not too worried about the actual quality of the match. I think it'll be a great match. They're in a big spot. They're probably going to pull out all the stops to make sure that this is a big match, which is something, as we already know, that they're capable of. So I'm not too worried on that front. I think it'll be great. But I think just the question marks come in how successful it will be in helping the company moving forward.
So there you go, Noah. After going over that card, I'm more excited about it. It looks like a pretty good card, and especially the back half has a lot of stuff I'm interested in. So I was a little annoyed all over again. I have to wait 8 more days to see it, but I'm sure it'll be interesting to watch on November 10th. And Kevin, have fun watching it live, I guess.
I will.
So that moves into November 3rd, where we have 2 big shows. One back at Ryogoku, as part of the 3 in a row. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about the Power Struggle show in Osaka, which is happening, on the same day, Sunday, November 3rd. We don't have a full card for this yet because we have to wait and see the outcome of the Super Junior Tag League before they book the undercard matches. So we know there will be a Super Junior Tag League final, and then they'll book the rest of the undercard based on those. Interestingly enough, Bushi challenged Will Ospreay for the IWGP Junior title during a backstage promo. I don't know if that's where that's going, if that's going to be for here, if Ospreay doesn't get to the finals, or if they're going to save that for like a US show or even like the World Tag League finals or something. But that's a interesting one. It's worth noting when Bushi lost to Kushida at Power Struggle in 2016, that's where Hiromu made his debut. So if they're going for like a full circle 3 years thing, that might be interesting. I know people are very, very sick of people predicting Hiromu returns by now, but that's one worth keeping your eye on that's not booked yet. As far as what is booked, we have 4 matches. We can probably blow through these pretty quickly. First of all, the special tag team match, Kazuchika Okada and Yoshihashi against Kota Ibushi and Hiroshi Tanahashi. I don't know how you feel about this, Taylor. Maybe you can talk to me about this. I'm not really feeling any kind of build here for Okada Ibushi. It just doesn't feel like there's much going on. It's not like I'm not watching. I'm watching all these shows. It just doesn't feel like there's much juice here. What do you think?
Well, I do think I think the double title thing on the 2 dome dates is fairly exciting. Sort of thinking about it as a concept and sort of booking out these different scenarios where person A wins, person C wins, and they face each other on the second night. But I do think it sort of obscures making that match feel big, because now it feels like, oh, it's one of 3 matches that are going to happen.
Yeah.
And, I think that Okada and Ibushi are sort of in personality. I don't know that I would say they're similar in personality, but they both sort of have this, the fans like them. The fans are, behind them. So it's just sort of like, hey, 2 guys or this is how I feel at least. It's like, hey, 2 guys I like are facing off against each other. Like, that's cool. But I don't know that and I don't know if you feel differently, much beyond sort of being like, oh, cool, a match that'll probably be pretty good.
And it just happened to the G1, which I'm sure doesn't help.
Right.
It's funny you mentioned that, though, because like everything you could say about Okada-Ibushi, you could also say about Naito and White, and that even happened after the G1. But I'm way more excited for that than I am for Okada-Ibushi.
Well,
maybe that's just because I'm a Naito fan, but like it just feels like there's way more juice there for like Naito going for his revenge after Jay White beat him twice, and it's just going to be the end of Naito and blah blah blah. Whereas like it feels like Naito's story, the 2-belt thing.
Well, and Jay White is also very clearly the heel.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at Okada-Ibushi, and sort of the heel is, in my mind, the person you don't want. Whoever you like more is the good guy, and whoever you hope doesn't win is sort of the bad guy, even though I'm like, if you think, okay, I want Okada to win, then Ibushi's the heel, but obviously Ibushi's not a heel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they do something like they've done in the past on a tag league show or something where one of them attacks the other one or something, like they've done before, like they did many years ago with Okada Tanahashi.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But yeah, so I think that's the issue. Obviously, Jay White is the heel, and he's going up against, the fan favorite and trying to prevent, as you said, it's sort of always been Naito's idea to do, this double title match. So in a way, he's 1A in terms of, oh, I want to get to the second night. The fans know that he's been talking about it, and he's going up against a guy who beat him. So I think I agree with you, in short, that there's a lot more juice to that match just because of, I think, who's in it and the story than there is to Okada-Ibushi.
And how about Hiroshi Tanahashi like in an equivalent position as Yoshihashi, like just a tag partner? Is really weird. But I'm assuming they're going to get Tanahashi Jericho started, maybe here with like a video message from Jericho, but it's just weird to see him like just in a nothing, like as a nothing partner in a tag match. What do you think about any thoughts on this whole match or the Okada-Ibushi dynamic, Kevin?
I don't know. I'm still kind of just trying to figure out where they're going. I do think that the Okada-Ibushi segment after the King of Pro Wrestling match, it did feel like it had some juice to me. I haven't seen as many of the shows since then, but that did feel like it. I feel like it's the big thing is just based around Kota Ibushi's general career arc and not the actual matchup against Okada. So I'm really expecting that to kind of just kick in a lot more once we get to the actual build, because I think that that's really the story and not necessarily who's the better guy between him and Okada. So I think that that's the type of thing too that they can kind of like really kick in as it gets closer and really heat it up that way. But yeah, I'm still excited for the match. I'm more excited for it than the Naito White presumed match, but it's also because Ibushi is one of the guys that really got me into Puro when it started. So, or when I started watching. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it still is a little weird that Ibushi already beat Okada, but I also don't think it's a huge deal once we really get there.
Then we have the special singles match, Tetsuya Naito and Taichi. These two have really been at each other's throats all tour. If you didn't like, basically the story so far, as we record this on Sunday the 27th, is Naito has went quiet, basically. He refused to talk, and I don't know if the idea is to sell maybe how serious he is about this, but he's not really been doing his usual mannerisms or anything. And Taichi's he hasn't been doing any post match press interviews or anything. And Taichi's been made his quest again to talk. And he beat down Naito with a microphone at Korakuen today, and then Naito finally went ballistic and he grabbed Taichi's mic stand. He took out the ref. He took out Taichi. He got himself DQ, and then he gave Taichi the Destino. And then he finally talked and basically just told Taichi that he was going to kick his ass at Power Struggle. So the crowd went wild for that. The crowds haven't gone wild for Naito in a little while. So maybe that's the start of him really getting his momentum going into the Tokyo Dome. I don't think it takes a brain surgeon to say Naito's going to win here and come out and challenge Jay White at the end of the main event, but that is probably what's going to happen. I really, really liked their first match at New Beginning. I didn't like the G1 match as much. Some people disagree with me on that and had the two of them reversed. But either way, I think they could put together another really good match here, and I'm excited for it. What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I am on the pro Taichi side of the world. So I'm probably looking forward to it than probably looking more forward to it than some other people. But I think it'll be good. But as you said, if we look back and maybe the match underperforms, I think it could be hurt by the fact that I think the outcome is pretty cut and dry. I don't see a world. I mean, can you see any world in which Taichi wins?
No.
Yeah, so, that may hurt it in the end, just knowing that the outcome is so clear. But they've shown in the past are capable of having good matches, so I think this one will be good as well.
What do you think, Kevin?
Taichi, I've liked their matches, but I also just don't really care about seeing it again, especially when it feels like the result isn't really questioned too much. So I don't know. It should be pretty good, but I just can't really get jazzed up about it. Really feels like they just needed somebody to put in as a placeholder.
The semi-main or presumed semi-main for the never openweight title, Kenta, the 27th champion, making his second defense against Tomohiro Ishii. First of all, it's nice to be able to say somebody's making a second defense attempt for the never title because that had not happened for many months this year. So this is an interesting one. I don't know which way it's going. I would think Kenta's going to retain because whether he's going to fight Goto at the Dome with Shibata in his corner or even if there's any chance of him still fighting Shibata, you just think there'd be no reason to have him drop the title first. But sometimes, New Japan just does weird shit with this never title and just, it's like, oh, it's Ishii's turn to get it back. It's like they change this belt so often and they have it, they do even Steven booking with this title more than anything else on the card. So it wouldn't shock me if Ishii won either, even if it doesn't make a ton of sense at first blush. But I'm gonna think Kenta's gonna win. I'm gonna hope he's gonna win, but Ishii winning wouldn't surprise me. Match quality wise, I'm more hopeful because I thought they were well on their way to having an awesome match at Royal Quest before Kenta, got hurt in the middle of it and got his bell rung and it fell apart from there. So provided Kenta can avoid that, I think they'll probably have a pretty awesome match here. What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good match. I think Kenta keeps the title. I think the only world in which he would have dropped it is a world in which he turns and people either don't react or they don't like it in some way. And, they probably had this charted out for a while. And if he wasn't getting over, maybe they look and they say, oh, maybe we just put it back on Ishii and, give him a good match at the Dome. But I think he retains. I think it'll be good. And I'm interested to see what happens. It's the first, I'm trying to think back, the first year we're going into the Dome where I'm really thinking about, what's going to happen with the never title storyline wise. Cause I feel like most years we head in and it's just sort of, two guys they can put together in the middle of the card who can have a good match with maybe a little light on the story. And I think if Kenta does retain, I think no matter what match we get at the Dome, it's going to be very story heavy with Shibata being involved in some way. So I'm looking forward to it.
Any more thoughts on this, Kevin?
I'm very excited. I think that the match in the UK disappointed everybody, including the guys in it. So I think that this match is going to be kind of their redemption on that. And I think that especially Ishii is going to do his best to really make this good. As far as where this is going, I have no idea. Shibata thing, I feel like that's not happening, but you never know. So yeah, I'm very curious of what's next.
I mean, Power Struggle is a show that always has surprises every year.
Yeah, this is really, you're right. So it easily could be that. It just feels like there's been nothing about it, where you'd think maybe there would be just like something, you know? Like, I'm not expecting to see Shibata already like challenging, but his name hasn't been out there at all, and you think maybe there would be something there.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the reason they haven't put his name out there, to make it a surprise.
The main event, the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, Jay White, the 23rd champion, trying to make his first defense against Hirooki Goto. I'm going to preface this by saying I totally get if you don't give a fuck about this match. I totally understand why. The only thing I will say about it is if you don't give a fuck about it, you know, that's fine. But I still think there's a decent chance that this could end up being a really good match. I think they could pull it off. And, you know, just because the match has a foregone conclusion doesn't mean it can't end up being pretty good. And I really like the build. I think Goto has been really fired up in the build. You know, Jay White's very easy to hate. So, you know, Goto is like a great, you know, plays off him really well as like a straight man. And I think Jay White's been on kind of a roll in my book, at least, because I really like the G1 final against Ibushi. And then I really like the Naito match at Destruction Kobe even more. So, you know, I think Jay White, he's finally turned a corner with me. You know, Goto hopefully can pull up. You know, he can have another really great match here with Goto and, you know, head into the Dome with some momentum. But, you know, like we were just saying with Naito-Taichi, it will probably be hurt a little bit by the foregone conclusion nature. But I think Goto's so easy to get behind that might not even matter. I think people might still get behind Goto anyway. So I guess we'll see. What do you think, Taylor?
I think this match has a low ceiling, a low floor, high ceiling, in that I sometimes feel like Goto has 2 or 3 really good matches in a row, and everyone says, "Oh yeah, I remember he's really good," and then he has some match coming up, and people are like, "He's good. It's going to be a good match," and he disappoints, or it's just average.
Yeah.
So he's sort of all over. I mean, that's sort of all over the board. That makes it, you know, if it was, we came out and people were like, "Oh, it was 3 stars," I wouldn't be surprised. But if people came out and it was higher than that, I also wouldn't be surprised. I also think it probably will be hurt a little bit by the result being so evident before the match even starts. So, you know, I could see it ending up a lot of ways. I could see people really being surprised and liking it. Now that I think there is part of it where you say, "Oh, you know, maybe it won't be very good. We already know the outcome," that people will lower their expectations a little bit. It is sort of nice that I feel a lot of New Japan matches get a lot of hype, deservedly so. And then maybe underperform slightly just because the expectations are so high. So I think this one could actually surprise in that it's a main event that people are going into sort of feeling that it might underperform, which may help it in the end.
Anything to add, Kevin?
Not really. Again, it feels like the outcome is not in doubt. So I do like Goto, and I think that he can really ramp it up. But I look more so like Goto in like the G1 role, or like the kind of mid-card singles match role, and not the main event role as much. Like when he was the never title guy in matches with Ishii, and his matches in G1, like with Shingo and with Ishii and that type of match. That's where I prefer him in, as opposed to like these main events where with Okada and whoever else. So I don't have like great expectations for this, but it should still be pretty good.
So there you go. That's Power Struggle. I think it's a pretty cool card. I think there's some stuff here that I'm excited for, and I remind people, even if some of these matches don't excite you as much as it does for me, Power Struggle is always a show that has some big surprises. So I would keep your eyes open and make sure you check that show out either way. All right, so let's move over to DDT. Before we talk about the Ultimate Party card, I want to very quickly talk about the Korakuen show that just happened today. We're running a little bit long on some of these shows, I guess. So I'm going to start at the top and go down, and we'll see if we have any thoughts on it because, some of these undercard matches I don't think that they talk about that much. First of all, the show only did 887 fans, which is, DDT's worst number at Korakuen in quite a while. I guess a bunch of tags and like building up a show everybody already has tickets for, I guess, was not a good sell, or it was a hard sell. And, everybody's been doing bad at Korakuen. I think we talked about that already. But I don't know, was that on the air or off the air? I don't even know. But either way, everybody's doing bad at Korakuen right now. So I'm not really that surprised. The main event, the Road to Ultimate Party 2019 Special 6-Man Tag Team Best 2 out of 3 Falls match. Konosuke Takeshita, Ken Oka, and Shoko Nakajima defeated Harashima, Izami Kodaka, and Yuka Sakazaki 2 falls to 1. The first fall was Izami pinning Ken Oka with the modified Samson clutch in 7:03. The second fall was Shoko pinning her challenger for the Princess of Princess title with the diving senton. And then the final fall was Takeshita pinning his challenger, Harashima, or I guess, technically they both have a belt, but either way, he submitted him with the Walls of Takeshita in 1940. So this I thought was an awesome match. I went 4 stars flat on it. Really ended up being the highlight of the show, along with one other match. And, I wouldn't say saved the show is a little too strong, but I'm glad this match happened because it really did make the show feel like a lot more worthwhile. It felt like all 6 of them were huge stars. The crowd was really into all 6 of them getting their own entrance. A lot of the Joshi, like interaction with the male wrestlers was good. There's one GIF going around of like Takeshita like just absolutely launching Yuka on a German, and I think Shuma's face on the outside just like reacted like, what the fuck did I just say? But there were a lot of other cool spots too. But yeah, I thought this was a really great match. Like I said, a 4-star match, and definitely the thing most worth checking out in this show. What did you think of this one, Kevin?
Yeah, I thought that this was a very solid multi-person match to just get you excited for the Ultimate Party. I thought that the Takeshita Hiroshima stuff was really great, especially like the way that Takeshita countered the knees at the end. I thought it was really cool, and that for sure that will come up in the match. So I thought that this was just a very solid main event to just lead into the big show.
Taylor, any thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, just about the same. I really liked when it sort of broke down closer to the end. I thought that had a really great energy with everyone sort of getting in the ring with everyone else and really mixing it up. So yeah, I was about the same. Thought it was a great main event.
Semifinal, the next KOD Tag Team Titles Challenger Battle. So the winners will face the winners of the 4-way hardcore match at Sumo Hall. Chris Brooks and Masahiro Takanashi defeated Yuki Ueno and Naomi Yoshimura when Brooks pinned Ueno with the Praying Mantis Bomb in 13:02. Not really surprised by the result. I figured Brooks and Masahiro would get the next shot, especially since Ueno and Yoshimura just had one. But, this was, I thought, a little bit sloppy, but still a pretty fun match. Don't have a ton of thoughts on it. What do you think, Kevin?
The same. Most of the matches on this show, I just thought were like good matches to get build up for the show like the other ones, but I don't really have any strong thoughts on any of them. I thought it was just a fairly easy watch to just kind of get you ready for the Ultimate Party. Except there was one kind of moment that we'll talk about in a second that was a bit interesting, but other than that, I thought it was just kind of like, all right, these are the guys in the match for next week. let's see them just kind of warm up.
What did you think about this one, Taylor?
Yeah, same.
Okay. So third from the top, the special single match, Tetsuya Endo defeating Ikemen with the Shooting Star Press in 1503. This was probably the most interesting standalone thing, as I think Kevin was just alluding to. So for people who've never seen Ikemen, he has this big, long entrance where he comes out and does like a whole big thing. And usually it gets a humongous reaction. He's a big baby face. While he was doing this, Endo in the ring was like doing like backflips and fucking gymnastic somersaults, and the crowd basically, I guess to kill time because he was bored during all this, and the crowd like starts cheering for Endo during Ikemen's entrance, so Ikemen gets like fucking angry and attacks Endo, and that was like such a fucking moment, and the crowd boos the shit out of him for that, which that they really did not like it. At one point, they started chanting, just in Japanese, they just started chanting "bad, bad, bad" at him, which I thought was so fucking funny. And they really were not happy with him, so they really played into it. And Ikemen went after his arm, and like he did like the biggest spot probably was he did like a sliding drop kick on the worked over arm when Endo was going for his normal like handstand like flipping kick thing on the ropes, so that was really cool. But yeah, I thought this match, it was a little boring early on, but Endo sold that arm so well, and like even when he did the Shooting Star Press, he sold it like landed on one side when he normally does it, perfectly asymmetrically, like the DDT English Update account was saying. So I thought this was great. I went 3 3/4. Just if the start of it had been a little more interesting, I would have gone 4. But like other than that, I thought this was a really cool match. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I thought that this was interesting. I thought that the beginning with all that, the Endo and Jiro stuff was really entertaining. I thought as it went along, it kind of dragged a little bit. But again, it was more of just like about seeing just Jiro and Endo in slightly different roles than they normally are. So I was entertained.
Taylor, what'd you think?
Yeah, I think like Kevin mentioned before, sort of the whole card was, it wasn't bad, but it's all sort of, nice in a way. And I think that this was probably the highlight of that. But it really sort of stayed at the level of like, oh, this is pretty fun, but didn't really get past that for me.
So the rest of the card, I don't know if we have to go over any of it. Anything on the undercard that really stands out to you guys? There's a bunch of tags, pretty much.
And the rugby. That's the only thing that stands out.
Yeah. Anything, Kevin?
Not really.
Okay, so let's go right to the Ultimate Party preview. So that card, of course, will be taking place on November 3rd on Sunday. Let me see if there's a time on what. Do anyone know what time it starts? Because I know the main card I think starts at 3 p.m. Japan time. So I would assume should have looked this up ahead of time, but I didn't. So
let's see.
Because I know the interesting thing about trying to watch this live, if anyone wants to do it, is of course it's daylight saving time here in the U.S. So you'll gain an hour basically watching it live. So that's why I was curious about the exact start time. But yeah, so it's an interesting one. Why the fuck don't they have anything on their own website? What is wrong with them?
So the thing that I found says 3 o'clock on the calendar that has everything there, 3 Japanese time.
Yeah. So 3 p.m. Japanese time. But so then I think the pre-show. Okay, so they're going to open doors at 1:30 Japanese time. So the undercard matches should start before 2 p.m. probably. Because when we went to Peter Pan, Taylor, didn't they start like before the hour beforehand?
Yeah, I felt like we got in and they started pretty fast.
So if you're watching live from the East Coast, expect it to start probably around 12:30 a.m., just after 12:30 a.m. with the under matches. They have 3 under matches to get through, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I think they're going to go more than an hour on those under matches. And they have to do like a whole big like talking thing too before the card starts where they go through all the merch and everything. So I think the undercard will start probably around 12:30 a.m., maybe a little bit after. And then the main card will start. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting with daylight savings. The main card will start at 2 a.m., but then 2 a.m. will immediately become 1 a.m. So it'll start at 2, but then we'll go back in time to 1. So that's good. You gain an hour to watch some of it live. I'm going to try to watch as much of it live as I can, probably, because the next day I have to watch the rest of this, plus also Power Struggle, and then be ready to watch Big Japan on Monday. So it's a lot. So let's talk about the 3 under matches that will all happen during that hour and a half before the main card starts. And we have the exact match order too now. They announced it at the end of the Korakuen show, which is always one of my favorite parts of the last Korakuen before a big DDT show, where they finally reveal the official match order. So under match number 1 is Matsunaga, Mizuki Watase, and the young boy Keigo Nakamura taking on Daichi Kazato, Masato Kamino, and Shuhei Washida. And I'm going to be honest with you folks listening, I do not watch a ton of Basara or Gambare, so if it sounds like I don't know who the fuck some of these people are, that would be why. Taylor, what are your thoughts on this opening under match?
I'm in the same boat as you, so I don't really have that many thoughts, although I was a bit concerned going back to the Korakuen that Nakamura had difficulty lifting up Shimatani in their dark match, as he, I would imagine, is probably one of the lightest people on the roster. So I'm not sure what that says for this match, where, you know, he may have equal difficulty lifting up his opponents.
So Daichi Kazato, by the way, is a Gambare guy. It looks like he goes all the way back to Union Max. Masato, I don't know who the fuck that is. So let's find out. Okay, Masato Kamino. I'm going to assume he's Gambare, but let's see. Masato Kamino is... he's only 25. No, he's also Basara. So I guess he's like a Basara young boy, it looks like. Oh, he was the guy who started in DNA, it looks like. I think. Or not. Maybe he was a Basara guy all the time. Never mind. But he started 2 years ago in 2017 and then vanished for a while and then came back in December 2018. And it looks like he's been Basara ever since. And then the third member of that team is Wasada. I'm sure this is great radio, but Shuhei Washida, and I'm going to assume he's also Gambare. Let's see. No, I don't care. So apparently there's a guy from a university. It's not who I'm talking about. Okay. I don't know who Shuhei... They don't seem to know who he is. So... Do you have any thoughts on any of this, Kevin, while I'm trying to figure out who the fuck these people are? Washida is another Gambare guy. Is a Gambare guy, finally. So there you go. And he's only been around since 2018. So another big young guy.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a Basara or a Gambare show. I'm not going to lie. So that's what I got for you on that.
I have watched Gambare a bunch of times. I always watch their Korakuen show, but like but Gambare is such a weird mix of like people you see all over on the indies and people you've never heard of that I just assume everybody on the show is like from all over, you know? So I'm not really like, you know, like you'll see like this guy, Washida. Looking at his cage match, he wrestled also in 0-1 recently. He wrestled in Heat Up. He wrestled for something called the Real Guts Army. So I'm like, you know, these guys are all over the place. They don't just wrestle for one promotion. But there you go. So there's a chance to see probably some guys that very few people listening to this have ever seen, since we're not even sure we've seen them. So under match number 2, the Tokyo Joshi Pro Offer 8-woman tag. Hikari Noah, Yumi, Mahiro Kiryu, Suzume taking on the team of Raku, Palm Harajuku, Haruna Neko, and Mirai Mayumi. You know, obviously I've seen all of these women a bunch of times. This is like basically, you could call this like the young, you know, like a young Tokyo Joshi showcase. You know, like the veterans here would be like the like Raku and Hikari Noah, who haven't really been around that long, but they've been around longer than most of the rest of the two teams. But this is a good showcase, I think, for the Tokyo Joshi, you know, young wrestlers who I think they just keep turning them out. Basically, they have a lot of really good young talent. So which is obviously great news for Tokyo Joshi going forward. What do you think, Taylor?
I don't really have that many thoughts. I always struggle to come up with thoughts for these Tokyo Joshi undercard matches because they just sort of are showcase matches. So I'm sure it'll be fun.
A little surprised they're not debuting anybody. They seem to like to do that a lot for a while. Debut somebody in the Ryogoku dark match. But maybe they just don't have anybody ready. Kevin, you got?
I mean, they've debuted like 500 people in the last 3 months, so maybe they're out for the moment.
Maybe they're out. Yeah. Kevin, any thoughts to add on the Tokyo Joshi match?
This may shock you, but I have none.
Okay. The delayed entry battle royal, the final undercard match, and this is a quite the mix of people here. So let's go through them. Toru Owashi, Kazuki Hirata, Gorgeous Matsuno, Shota, Harukaze, Sagat, Yuki Kamifuku, Mina Shirakawa, Pokotan, and Yoshihiko. So obviously, Owashi, Hirata, and Matsuno we know pretty well from DDT, common DDT comedy guys. As far as Shota, I believe is a Gambare guy. I'm going to get that wrong a million times probably during this podcast. Which one's Gambare and which one's, Basara. Sagat, I'm 100% sure is Basara. He's like in that weird metalhead unit that Fuma and whatever the fuck is in. Fuma and Kubo, who are in the tag title match later. Obviously, Kamifuku and Mina Shirakawa are both Tokyo Joshi. They've been like a little unit lately, along with, I got it. I'm blanking on the other one. Taylor, who's the other one? The unit? Manase. Manase. And then Pokotan and Yoshihiko, I guess, are like your mascot division. So quite the collection of talent there. I'm excited to see what exactly we get here, but there's not really a ton of story. Oh, Harukaze's a woman. There you go. I didn't even know that until I looked that up. She's from the Gambare Joshi, basically. So there you go. What do you think? Thoughts on this, Taylor?
I'm trying to think.
Shota, by the way, is Gambare also. Just to interject and throw that out there. Sorry.
I'm trying to think who wins because the Iron Man heavy metal title is in Big Japan, I think. Isn't it? Who has it now?
Who has it right now? I don't know.
I think Kikutaro had it a little while ago, but I don't know if he still has it.
I feel like somebody in the U.S. had it.
Is it on? Let's see if it's notated on. Does Cage Match keep record of it?
No, I don't think so.
No, Kikutaro, of since September 29th.
So maybe Kikutaro will run in and be in this? I don't know.
So he's not in it, so that sort of obscures who's going to win. So I'm going to say that I feel like Yoshihiko hasn't won in a while.
Wikipedia has a complete listing of all 1,430 champions. Kikutaro beat Puma King for it.
Right, that's who had it in the West, Puma King. Yep. So there you go.
So somebody has gone on Wikipedia and updated it every single time.
That rules.
So we're at 1,430.
So now, what are your plans, by the way, Kevin? Are you going to get here for all the undercard matches?
I don't know. I was planning on it, but I'm in a box, which I didn't think about when I got the tickets. And also, like, I just don't know what the day is going to be like. And like, I want to maximize my time a bit. So it's probably going to be a game time decision and figure out with the person I'm going with what we want to do on that. So my original plan was, of course, but now it might just be planned for the 3:00. And if that includes the dark matches, great. And if it doesn't, then so be it.
Because 3:00 will be the start of the main show.
Is it 2 in a box or 4 in a box? It's 4?
I believe that it's 2 in a box.
Oh, well, that's much easier.
Yeah, I think that it's 2 in a box.
Is it 2 in a box for all 3 shows or just for this?
My Noah seats are in seats, so I'm not sure about that. But my Big Japan is also in a box, and I believe that is also 2 in a box.
Okay.
I can't imagine them doing 4 in a box.
Yeah. As far as DDT goes, Taylor and I can tell you it is. We arrived for all 3 undercard matches for Peter Pan 2 years ago. It is a very long show. So, I don't know. You might want to avoid that actually.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the move to avoid.
Shinshiro Takagi, by the way, was asked about the length of the show, and he said his exact answer was, "I'll try to keep the main card, not everything, including the dark matches. I'll try to keep the main card under 6 hours, but no promises." So you're going to be there a long time, Kevin.
Yes.
How long? Do you remember how long Peter Pan went for us, Taylor? Was it 6 hours?
I think it was. I think with all the undercard stuff, I think it was about 6 hours. Yeah.
Okay, so not just the main card, though.
Yeah, I think the whole thing, because if I'm remembering, I feel like we got there at 2 or something and we left at 8. I don't know, but I could totally be wrong about that.
Okay. So now we're up to the main card. So let's talk about the opener, the special singles match, 100 plastic cases match.
Wait. We skipped a match.
No, that's all 3 undercards. They moved the other thing back to the main.
Oh, they moved it. Okay.
Yeah. So I have the exact order here. That's the latest order from Korakuen. So
I see.
So the opening match, the special singles match, 100 plastic cases, is Shinshiro Takagi against Izami Kodaka. A little surprising. This is going to be the opener, considering it's probably like the second or third biggest drawing match on the card. You know, the head of DDT against the head of Basara right before Basara leaves. And this was booked like 8 months ago or something. It was booked a long time ago. So I think this will be quite the spectacle. I suspect Takagi will win, but they could go either way, I guess. But I'm very excited for this, and I'm glad they're going to hit some comedy after this, because trying to follow this both from because this will be comedy too itself, but it will also be just like a crazy hardcore match. So I'm very excited for it. I think whoever trying to follow this with a serious match would be probably not a great idea. So I'm glad they're going to do some comedy after this one. What do you think of this one, Taylor?
I'm excited. I think in all of wrestling that the plastic cases might be my favorite hardcore weapon. I don't know. I've never been thrown into one or been hit with one. They appear very dangerous, but I guess because DDT keeps using them, they probably aren't. But I'm looking forward to it. As I just said, I love the plastic cases, so 100 of them seems very exciting. I'm awaiting to see what kind of formations they are placed in to throw people on or to hit people with. And I think it'll be good. And I also think that was this ever announced as an 040 title match?
It might have been, but then Takagi lost the title.
I feel like it was, and then Takagi lost the title. So I think him losing the title, it really puts it sort of puts the result up in the air, which is good. But I think it'll be good, and I think it'll be a good kickoff to the show, even though it is a draw. To start with the sort of high energy singles match is a good choice.
Any additional thoughts here, Kevin?
I think that this match should be awesome. I think I really like Takagi and his comedy. I think it's maybe the stuff that connects with me the most as far as DDT comedy goes. But I appreciate that. I think that the weapons rumbles are really funny, but sometimes I feel like some things are lost in translation, especially live. So I'm glad that the big spectacle Takagi comedy match on the show I'm going to is something that is a little bit more easy to digest, I think, at least going in. That's what I feel like. And it's also a good way to mix his style and the Kodaka style together. So I think that I'm really excited about this. When I saw that this was kind of the direction that they were going, I was really hyped that was what was going on when I was going.
Match number 2, the second KOD 10-man tag team champion decision match. Taylor and I were there for the first decision match, and the belts disappeared not long after that 2 years ago, but now they're back. They did basically a draft a few weeks ago with Dino and Sasadango as the each captain. They drafted their teams based on the participants. So we have Danshoku Dino, Asuka, Yuki Ino, Mizuki, and Trans Am Hiroshi. What a team there against Super Sasadango Machine, Yuna Manase, who I just mentioned before and almost forgot about. Sorry to Yuna. Jiro Ikemen Kurishio, Hiroshi Yamato, and Makoto Oishi. These two teams, just incredible. I mean, just like what a collection of like comedy and like fun wrestlers on both teams. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be total goofball comedy. Probably only going to be like 10 minutes long, but it's going to be great. What do you want to add on this, Taylor? Anything?
Huge disrespect to the Queen Lilico, the original champion, to not include her. So I'm very mad about that. John, I think we should make a prediction here, and the prediction should be after this match: are the belts defended again by this team?
One time.
All right.
Yeah.
I think they'll never be defended. I think they should keep with the lineage of the title. Once. Were they defended once? Were they defended like a week later or something? Let's look. Okay. 10 man. They were defended matches. Oh, they were defended. They were defended in November. So they were defended 3 months later and then never again. All right. So I guess one time.
All right, folks, we got cut off there for a second, but scared ourselves for a second that we had lost the file or something, but thankfully all there. So you're still hearing more DDT talk here. We're in the middle of the 10-man tag team title decision match. Taylor, any more final thoughts on that before I get Kevin's thoughts?
No, it should be a fun match.
Kevin, any thoughts on the 10-man tag team title decision match?
No, I mean, it's just going to be standard DDT comedy, so hopefully it's pretty interesting and that I can follow along with it, and it's not just PowerPoints and me having no clue what's going on.
Yeah, because I mean, the DT English update account's good for that, but I doubt you want to be on the phone in the middle of the show. So after that, we have the Gauntlet tag match. So interestingly enough, they had said for, it was on the dark matches for a little while, but now it got moved back to the main show when they did the final announcement at the end of Korakuen. So the first team is Yuki Ueno and Naomi Yoshimura. Second team is Yukio Sakaguchi teaming up with Ryoto Nakatsu, I believe also from Basara. Then we have Shuichiro Katsumura and Koki Iwasaki. Those two I know are from Gambare. Katsumura, I believe, was a DNA guy. Iwasaki, I know, was a DNA guy. And then Chris Brooks teaming up with Maki Ito, the Neo Ito Respect Army. Then we have Yukio Naya and Cody Hall. And finally, from Tokyo Joshi, Nodoka Tenma and Yuki Aino. So a fun collection of teams here. It's going to be, if you've never seen one of these gauntlets on a DDT Big Show, it's not that dissimilar from those gauntlets back in the day on like a major Chikara show. Just a bunch of teams to get them on the card, and they'll have some fun little mini matches. So it should be a good time. What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, it should be interesting. Some good a good mix of teams here in terms of the talent from I believe all four different promotions, if I'm looking correctly. It should be good. I wonder if the winner, if it leads to anything, or if it's just one reason why would they have moved it onto the main card? Maybe that the winner, something happens with the winner.
Yeah. What do you think, Kevin? Any thoughts on this one?
Not too much on this one. I do like gauntlet matches, so should hopefully be pretty interesting. I kind of was thought maybe the guys like Sakaguchi would be in bigger matches, but I guess not. There's so many people on this card, so
yeah. Match number 4 is for the Independent World Junior Heavyweight title. That's the top belt in Gambare. It goes all the way back to FMW, actually. Keisuke Ishii defending against Fuminori Abe. Abe, of course, is representing Basara here. He's also in the All Japan Junior Heavyweight title tournament, which actually became like part of the build, where Ishii basically got mad at Abe for trying to go after 2 junior titles at once when he's already, set to challenge for his junior title, at this show. So I thought that was interesting that they just made that part of the build. But yeah, this really has potential to be like maybe the best like work rate, like pure work rate singles match on the card, other than maybe the main event. So I have a lot of hope for this one. I think it could be a really good match. I would expect Ishii to retain just because Abe's a Basara guy and Basara's leaving the bubble and all that. But if people aren't aware, Basara's leaving the DDT group at the end of the year. But I mean, they could always have Abe win here and drop the belt to somebody else, I'm sure. So what do you think, Taylor, of this one?
Yeah, I think this is the dark horse match of the night. I think it largely depends on how much time they get. They've already sort of announced the show is going to be very long, but I really have no feel for how much time each of these matches is going to get. If this only gets 10 to 12 minutes, it might not blow people away, but if it gets maybe a little bit more time, I think it could be really good. 2 really good wrestlers who I think will probably mesh well together and will probably surprise some people who are coming into the show sort of knowing more of the DDT talent. So I'm really looking forward to this match.
All right.
Yeah, this should be great.
I was going to say, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, this should be great. Abe, I think, is a guy who a lot of people. He's a guy that like is just kind of waiting for the next level. I think that just where he's kind of been in this for a year or two, kind of been positioned with Nomura in Big Japan. He hasn't quite broken out, but I like the idea of him having a big singles match on a huge show like this. Like, I really like. We would talk about it on Burning Spirits a lot, like the singles match, undercard, 10 to 15 minutes, kind of like not really the focus, but 2 guys who just go out there and kind of like kill it for a little while. And I think that this really has the opportunity to be exactly that type of match. So I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this is like, God, what was that match with T-Hawk last year? T-Hawk and somebody?
Oh, T-Hawk and Akito?
Akito, right. And that ended up being like one of my favorite matches of the entire card. So I think that could be the equivalent. Match number 5, the UWA World Trios Championship 3-way match. Before we get into the participants, I've done this before on the show, but the history of the UWA World Trios titles, my favorite titles in wrestling, started in 1984 in Mexico, went to Toryumon in Japan in 2001, stayed in Toryumon until the split, and ended up in El Dorado, the Toryumon, later promotion. And then ended up in DDT for a while in 2009, before DDT got their own 6-man titles, which are not defended here, but these UWA titles are. Then they went dead for like almost 5 years before Wrestle 1 brought them back in 2015. And then Wrestle 1 basically lost them to Tokyo Gurentai, who left the company with the belts. And then they went to Big Japan. They were revived again by Big Japan. And then they were defended in Basara and won by the trio that's defending them here. And they brought all the way back to DDT, almost not quite full circle. They're not in Mexico, but brought back to where they were a decade ago in 2009. So just the long, strange history of the UWA Trios titles. So the champions, again, from Basara, Takumi Tsukamoto, Yasu Urano, and Takato Nakano. Defending against from Damnation and DDT, obviously, Tetsuya Endo, Mad Pauly, and Nobuhiro Shimatani. And then the other challenging team from Ganbare, Ken Oka, Yumehito Imanari. Of course, he's like the DDT video guy who's also in like a major star in Ganbare, and Miss Mongol. So quite the list of wrestlers there. This is like probably the wackiest match on the card, I guess, as far as like, I don't even know if that's true, but one of the wackiest matches on the card. And yeah, it's also for a championship. You got a lot of guys in here I really love, obviously Endo and pretty much the whole Damnation team, but also like Yasu Urano, who used to be like a major DDT guy before he left, and Ken Oka, who I always love, and even Nari, who's, he's got a super great connection with the crowd. He's always really over. So, this could be again, a sleeper match on the card here. What do you think, Taylor?
Yes, same. I think it'll be a fun match, as you mentioned, with the lineage of the titles. I don't think there's any expectation as to what this match needs to be. There's really no need to protect these titles in any way, so I think it could get fairly goofy if they wanted. Kevin mentioned it earlier. I'm a little bit disappointed to see Endo, sort of in this 9-person match. Would have liked to see him be more featured, but I think that's just an indication of, how many people they have to get on this card and, just trying to squeeze everyone in.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, it just seems like there's always the undercard DDT comedy matches, and then there's always the big goofy one kind of later on. So that feels what this is going to be. So hopefully, it is, Endo does have I was expecting him to be in something bigger, but he kind of does well in these type of matches too. So
match number 6, the Princess Tag Team Championship. Saki-sama and Misao, the Neo-Bishiki-gun, defending the titles against Rika Tatsumi and Miyu Watanabe. A lot of stuff in Tokyo Joshi coming full circle here, where Misao was friends with Rika and turned on her when she went from Hyper Misao to becoming Saki-sama's bodyguard. And Miyu Watanabe has been feuding with Saki-sama all year. They had a really awesome singles match earlier this year where Saki-sama basically just squashed her almost. Probably my favorite squash match of the year. And then Miyu came back with a team with Miyu Yamashita, which I thought had a chance to take the titles away a few months ago, but they failed. And now Watanabe comes back with Rika here, to try to get revenge. She's going for revenge on Saki-sama, and Rika, she had a long feud with Saki-sama years ago, but it's more about trying to get Misao out of Saki-sama's clutches. So I'm excited for this one. Just a lot of storyline stuff here, and I think it has a chance to be a pretty good match too. What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think Tatsumi and Watanabe is going to be a really good team. I think, and I think we've talked about this on this podcast in the past, that Saki-sama and Misao maybe aren't the best in terms of in-ring bell to bell, but I think they picked the right opponents to really bring out the best in them. So I'm looking forward to this match.
Kevin?
I'm not going to lie. I don't watch Tokyo Joshi Pro too much, so.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Match number 7, the KOD Tag Team Championship 4-way hardcore match. Daisuke Sasaki and Soma Takao, the champions from Damnation, defending against from All Out, Akito and Shunma Katsumata, and then 2 teams, both from Basara. You have Fuma and Yusuke Kubo, and then you have Minoru Fujita and Daiki Shimamura. Shimamura, again, is a guy who, or Shimomura, I should say. He's a guy who used to be in DNA. He had kind of, I don't know what you would call it, a little person / on the smaller side, team / rivalry with Shimatani, but they kind of broke off and each went their own ways. You can see with Daiki being in DNA here. But yeah, Minoru Fujita, obviously, I think a lot of people know that name. He's been around forever. He's also a big Japan guy. But yeah, this is an interesting mix of guys here. I don't know how it's going to go, because every time I think Sasaki and Takao are going to drop these belts, because they've had them all year and kind of done everything they can with them, but they won again against Yoshimura and Ueno. So it wouldn't shock me if they just retained here. I don't think either Basara team is going to win. Maybe they will, and they'll do something where they're threatening to walk out with the belts, because it's basically what they said during the build-up, that they're going to, leave the DDT group with the titles. So maybe they'll do that, or maybe Akito and Shuma will just get the win, and Shuma's kind of sort of been changing these belts for a while. So who knows? I can see it's going a lot of different ways, but it should be a fun plunder match either way. Taylor, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it should be good. They had the preview match on the Korakuen, and it felt to me, I don't know if anyone else thinks this, that the 4 that were in the match were sort of holding back, probably keeping some, things to do in their pocket for the big show. But I think it's a good mix of talent. You have a lot of very strong personalities, which I think should make the match pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for this too. I like the idea that the KOD title this year is a little bit different than just your normal standard DDT style tag match, where this is more of just like a wild hardcore match. Who knows what's going to happen? It might go all over the place. Who knows what type of weapons they'll use or whatever is going to happen. So I think that this could be a big spectacle and be a lot of fun, especially with like Daisuke Sasaki in it. I feel like he'll bring this up to another level.
Match number 8, the Union Max Championship. Ryuichi Sekine defending against Masahiro Takanashi. This is the top match of Basara because Basara, came from Pro Wrestling Union, and Masahiro apparently has like history with the belt. Like he used to, I don't know if he was a past champion. I should look that up real quick. But I know he mentioned that it's a belt that he has history with because he, was like kind of a part of Union in the past. So, but yeah, so this does have some history here. Here you have a DDT guy going for a Basara title before Basara leaves the group. So, that's interesting. But yeah, it doesn't look like he actually ever held it. So maybe he did challenge for it in the past. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look like he held it. So if cage matches to be believed anyway. But yeah, so that's an interesting build up here with, the Union Max title on the line. Okay, so it looks like he challenged for something called the Union Pro Fly to Everywhere World Title. I don't know if that's the same title or not. I kind of doubt it is, actually. So, because Cherry held it, so I really doubt it. But yeah, so there you go. Sekine against Masahiro. Should be like a kind of like, again, I'm expecting like a wild kind of like brawl type match. But maybe, I don't know if it'll fit that, actually, because that's not really Masahiro style. I guess I don't know what to expect from this match. It's my answer. Taylor, what do you think?
I always look forward to Takanashi singles matches, so I think this will be good.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's really great. I think he's probably, in all of wrestling, one of the more underrated talents. And I think part of that is the way he's booked. Not that he's booked poorly, but I think he's, usually booked as more of a team or a sort of a tag wrestler. But he definitely has the skill to really have some great singles matches. So I'm looking forward to this.
Kevin?
Yeah, I'm the same. I am excited to see a big Takanashi singles match. I haven't really seen too much of Sekine, so more so just focused on the idea of you don't see many of these big Takanashi matches, so it could be interesting.
I mean, that match where he challenged Izami Kodaki for the KOD like 3 years ago.
I remember that being awesome.
Yeah, so. Third from the top, the Princess of Princess Championship. Shoko Nakajima defending against Yuka Sakazaki. First of all, I think it's awesome that they're this high up on the card. This is the highest of the non-KOD / Extreme title matches. The highest, I guess, one title match is what you could say. And, this is, two wrestlers who are both meant a lot to Tokyo Joshi so far. They've been two of the biggest stars. Yuka's been a champion before. He held the tag titles as well. Shoko was the one to finally unseat Miyu Yamashita earlier this year, and they've both been there since the start, and they've seen the promotion really rise up to become what it is today. So I think there's a great spot for them. I hope they really, kill it here with a great match. I could see the result go either way. I kind of think Yuka's going to win. It just kind of feels like it could be a big moment for her, and it feels like the kind of thing they might do here to have a title change at Ryogoku. But I guess Shoko winning wouldn't shock me either. What do you think, Taylor? What about the result in the match, I guess?
So I think Yuka has a good chance of winning. I think with Kenny Omega being there, I think they're probably going to be filming stuff for AEW probably. And I know that Yuka is listed on the AEW roster page. So I think that maybe DDT might put the title on her in the case that she makes more appearances for AEW, which I think is very possible. But also it would be a way to sort of, if she won the title, they could, AEW could film that for, being the elite or something like that to keep her fresh in the minds of AEW fans if she can't come over, immediately after the win. So I think it might be beneficial for that relationship. That's one way I could see it happening. I also think that, Nakajima, not that it's been a bad reign, but I don't think it's been very noteworthy. So I think that there really isn't any issue with changing the title. It's not as if, she's, being a huge draw or, it's been a blow-away reign. So I think it might be interesting to see it on Sakazaki, but I could see it going the other way and seeing Shoka retaining.
But yeah, so that's I could see it too. I wouldn't shock me if Shoka retains, but Yuka, I think it will be Yuka as well. I don't know. You just said you don't watch a lot of Tokyo Joshi. Do you have anything to add, Kevin?
Nope, not too much.
Okay. Semi-final. Silken Holdings presents the dramatic dream match. Kenny Omega and Riho versus Antonio Honda and Miyu Yamashita. The first thing I want to say is if you see this match and you think it's a waste of Kenny, I want to fight you. I think it's awesome that Honda is getting this spot. Apparently, Kenny asked him for him specifically, like he wanted to face Honda. Like I don't know if he booked this match himself or if it was him and Takagi, but I know he wanted to face Honda. So, like Antonio Honda, he's an awesome comedy wrestler. He's slightly better in the ring than I think people give him credit for. And I have no doubt that they're going to have a really fun match here. Especially I can't wait to see like Kenny and Miyu Yamashita go at it. Like that should be really cool. I know this is like Kenny wanted to do an intergender match as well because, AEW is not doing that. So I think that was part of his mindset here. So, I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to be really fun, really interesting. I think it's not. I think they made the right call, not wasting like a big Kenny singles match on his first appearance back in DDT in like 4 years or 5 years. When the fuck did he leave DDT? It was end of 2014, right?
I would have to look it up.
I think it was end of 2014. It could have been in 2015, but I think it was 2014. But either way, this is his first appearance back in DDT in either 4 or 5 years. It's his first appearance back in Japan since January 4th of this year. I mean, there's no need to just book him in against Takeshita on day one. I think this way, maybe next year you could do like, if assuming Kenny's going to come for your big shows from here on going forward, maybe you do Kenny and Endo at Judgment next year, and then you do like, Kenny versus Takeshita as your big main event, to try to sell out Saitama. So, I think it's smart to book him, to start him off with something like this. It's a really cool looking match, and I'm excited for it. I assume Kenny and Riho are going to win, but we'll see what happens. What do you think? What is your thoughts on this one, Taylor?
Yeah, I think, to the people who think that this is a waste of Kenny, I think that largely it's so funny that you would probably often think that a big show like this would be sort of a draw to new fans, but I think in many ways that the big DDT shows, that they run Peter Pan and Judgment and things like that, they do try and bring in new fans, but a lot of it is a celebration of what they already have and sort of allowing the fans they already have to really see what they want to see. And I think that this is the type of match that DDT fans, I'm very excited for this match, so I guess I can't speak for all DDT fans, but I'm excited to see it. I love Honda. I love all 4 of the people in this match, so I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know how much of a draw it is, if you're an AEW fan who's never watched DDT and you go, oh, Kenny's having a match, and you go watch this, maybe you like it, but if you're expecting a, 25-minute singles Kenny Omega match, you won't get it. But this really is the style of DDT. This is a DDT match, and it's presenting sort of true DDT.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I heard about Omega coming back, I did think that he'd be paired up like a tag match makes sense, but I did think that he'd be paired up with somebody, I don't know, Endo or somebody else. I would say Takashita, but I didn't think he'd be in a tag match. But somebody on the more like worky side, I guess. But it does really make sense where he's back in the DDT universe, so he just goes full on big time DDT and against Hondo. So I'm excited for this. I feel like Kenny's going to be insanely motivated to go out there and just kind of not mail it in at all, check all of his boxes, and especially the comedy stuff. I think he's really going to lean into that a lot, but I think that it should be pretty entertaining. Real good.
And then the main event is your double title match for the KOD Openweight title and the DDT Extreme title. Konosuke Takeshita versus Harashima. First of all, DDT figuring out what New Japan was going to do with the Dome and then beating them to it by 2 months. Pretty funny, I have to admit. That was a pretty funny thing they did here. But yeah, I don't think they would do any result here but Takeshita winning. It just makes too much sense to have him walk out of Ryogoku with both belts and, have his big moment and presumably start building the Takeshita Omega match for next year. I guess Harashima could win, but it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me not to have Takeshita win here. I expect it to be outstanding. I mean, their match, 2018, right? It was Judgment 2018. That match was really, really good. So I expect this one will be as well. What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think with Kenny, obviously he's back and I would imagine he's not going to leave the promotion high and dry, but you really never know. I mean, especially being DDT, a Japanese promotion, sort of dealing with an American promotion, I would think that they would want to go. Obviously, they don't have to do it, next month or anything. I would think they would want to go to Takeshita Omega as soon as they can to draw a house. And I think doing it for the big show in Saitama next year is very smart. So I just don't see a world in which Harashima wins and you still manage to get to Omega Takeshita in the biggest match that you can do. So I think Takeshita is going to win. I mean, I have no doubt the match will be, very good. You have two of probably the best wrestlers in DDT, most certainly, and maybe the world here in a big spot in a main event of a huge show. So I have no doubt it'll deliver.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really excited when Hiroshima was the one that won the match in September to get to this one, because I think that he's great and one of the better DDT wrestlers probably that I've ever seen. So I was really excited to see him get the spot, especially when he's kind of similar to the Tanahashi, where he's been the ace, but he's kind of moved aside because there's a new ace, but every once in a while he still comes to the top. So I was pretty excited that he was the guy that's going to be in this match. That last match of Judgment a few years ago, Drew from Burning Spirits was at, and he thought that it was great. So I'm really excited that this time I get to go see it.
And there you go. That's your Ultimate Party card. This card just looks fucking awesome. But yeah, so that's a pretty cool card overall. So let's get into the last card we're going to talk about. I'm going to have to go quick here because we've already taken a lot of time. The Big Japan Ryogokutan 2019. That's the Monday, November 4th, the last of the 3 Sumo Hall shows. So I haven't seen a ton of Big Japan in the last few months, especially. So I'll be relying on my guests here, especially I assume Kevin.
So this is my thing with Big Japan this year. The beginning, it started off incredible. I thought that January and February was awesome, and I was really excited for the Death Tournament. And then the Death Tournament was kind of disappointing. There wasn't that much great in it. And since then, Big Japan it's been hard to watch, hard to find it. The stuff gets released late. It's been really difficult to keep track of. So honestly, in the beginning of this year, I thought I was going to be much more in, like on the show to show, but once it got in, it just has been pretty disappointing as far as I know. So I honestly haven't seen that much over the past few months, but I think this is one of those cards where it's just kind of like, the bigger Big Japan stories of the past few years are all kind of condensed into this, both story-wise, but also just like the themes and issues or whatever is going on. They're all encapsulated in this card.
So let's see here. The opener, Ryoto Hama, Yasufumi Nakanoe, and Kazuki Hashimoto taking on Takuhu Kato, Akira Hyodo, and Yuki Ishikawa. Go ahead, Kevin. Give us your thoughts on the sixth man.
Well, this is the Big Japan young boys. They've been pretty good over the past year or two. So I don't have any like specific thoughts about them, but I'm really excited to see them mix it up with like a guy like Hama and Nakanoe, who's also good. So this should be pretty solid opener. I like that they're putting the younger guys against actual established wrestlers and not just against each other.
Any thoughts on this, Taylor?
Nope.
Okay. Great Kojika, the Great Sasuke, Brahman Shu, Brahman K, and Kankiro Hoshino versus Abdullah Kobayashi, Hideki Suzuki, Shinobu, Orca Uto, and Drew Parker. Please tell me what the fuck is going on here, Kevin. Because
I can't even tell you. So I was part of me wants you to be like, yeah, this is just going to be your normal Brahmin Brothers, Big Japan tag match with like lots of water and bowling balls and stuff, and it will be. And maybe Sasuke does something crazy too because he's in it too. But then you add Hideki Suzuki too, so who knows what the interactions will be. I mean, I think that you have somebody who's so serious, and I think that he does have a little bit comedy, like he can do it, but he doesn't really choose to. So I'm curious to see what this match is like. I'm not really expecting it to be good, but it could be entertaining or it could just be painful. Who knows? Who knows what's going on?
I hope Sasuke gets to use his barrel.
I was thinking the barrel too, but the second match on the card, I don't know. I don't know if they'll bring the barrel out, but maybe they will.
Match number 3, Ryuichi Kawakami. It hurts me to see him so far down. And Kazumi Kikuta against Jake Lee and Naoya Nomura. Wow, why the hell is this match number 3? Like Jake Lee and Nomura from All Japan are here. They're in the third match. Are we sure this is the final order? Anyway, this is a cool ass tag match. I'm pumped for this one. What do you think here, Kevin?
Yeah, this should be awesome. I honestly kind of forgot that this was on the card.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, it should be pretty sick that it's there. I get to see All Japan guys, Nomura and Jake Lee. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Being so low on the card, who knows what it'll be like, but it should be cool.
Match number 4. Oh, sorry, Taylor, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm just excited to see people, as I mentioned in the Noah preview, excited to see people who, you don't ever expect to see together in a ring, 4 talented guys. So I'm looking forward to it.
Kawakami fought Lee and Nomura earlier this year, didn't they? Like in a All Asia Tag Title match, or Lee and Iwamoto, right? It was like an All Asia Tag Title match or something. I remember there was some All Asia Tag Title match for Kawakami that was really good. Or am I losing my mind?
Yeah, Kevin.
I don't remember. It sounds familiar, but I can't tell you.
I'm gonna look it up real quick because I'm curious. Match number 4. While I do that, Hideyoshi Kamitani, Takuya Nomura, and Fuminori Abe against the Strong Hearts team of Shigehiro Irie, T-Hawk, and El Lindaman. Again, this is a really strong match here for just the 4th match on the card. This is I think another match I really am looking forward to. What do you think of this one, Kevin?
Yeah, this looks awesome too. Especially, I mean, we've all been waiting for Takuya Nomura, the Big Japan Nomura, to kind of break out. He still hasn't yet, but he's still awesome. So I'm just expecting this to kind of be 10 minutes, balls to the wall. Abe and him are in a tag called Astronauts. So I'm just expecting this to be really good. And Strong Hearts, of course, seeing them on this card too is real interesting, and their interactions with like the El Lindaman and Nomura interaction should be pretty entertaining. So I'm really excited for this.
All right, so before Taylor gives his thoughts on this match, I confirm Kikuta and Kawakami beat Lee and Iwamoto for the All Asia belts, Endless Survivor in May at Yokohama. So that's the match I was thinking of. That was like a 4-star plus match. That was really good. And then Lee and Iwamoto beat them back, won the titles back from them in June in Korakuen and All Japan. That one I don't remember as well, so I assume it wasn't quite as good. Maybe I didn't see it or something, but yeah. So that's why it's Kikuta and Kawakami against Lee and Nomura this time. But they did have a match with Lee Iwamoto back in May. Any thoughts on match number 4 here, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I've loved Strong Hearts wherever they've been. They've popped up a lot of different places over the last year plus. So I think this match will be really good. They're going up against a really good team who I think is going to, sort of some guys on the younger side in a big situation. They'll probably give their all. So I think this match could be really, really good.
Match number 5, the tax trip death match, Ricky Shane Page and Masaya Takahashi versus Masashi Takeda and Takumi Tsukamoto. Can't say I know anything about what's going on here, so jump in here for me, Kevin.
I have no idea what a tax trip death match is either, so I'm excited for that. Otherwise, I think that this is just going to be your standard lower card tag team Big Japan death match. If you've seen one, you've seen a million. I was hoping that Takeda would be in the main event. I thought that maybe he would be. Miyamoto being instead makes sense, but I thought maybe they were going to go back to this match again, the Kodaka versus Takeda, but they didn't. So he's here instead. Ricky Shane Page, not my favorite, but I feel like on a big show like this, he'll probably be pretty good. So my bigger issues with him are more of just like his character, and I feel like in Big Japan that's probably toned down a bit. So,
Matt, any thoughts on this, Taylor?
No, I think it should be good, even though it's lower on the card. I think you have a lot of good talent, and it's the first death match on the card, so I think it could be pretty good.
Match number 6, a 4-way for the Big Japan Junior Heavyweight title. Yuya Aoki defending against Tajiri, Tatsuhiko Yoshino, and Kota Sekifuda. This is kind of a pretty much like get all the Big Japan juniors in a match here. Could be good though. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm not really excited about Tajiri, but otherwise I do think that the Big Japan juniors over the past few years have been pretty entertaining, and that some of the guys in this match are ones that have been like kind of boiling under the surface. Like what do we got? So Sekifuda and stuff, he's been there. He was like on opening matches a few years ago and that type of thing. So I'm excited to see finally that they are kind of bumping all of those guys up, because I do think that Big Japan Juniors matches can be really fun and kind of like they're a lot the same style of the strong style, except with just the junior division. So I do think that makes it a bit unique. So I like that they're kind of growing their own guys in that division.
Then we have. Do you have any thoughts on this, Taylor? I keep almost forgetting.
Yeah, it's probably good that they're hiding Tajiri in a match with 3 other people. I actually think outside of singles matches, you can hide him pretty well. So I think actually this match probably will over-deliver based on looking at a match that has Tajiri in it. So yeah, it could be pretty good.
Match number 7, the match, as I like to call it, the creeping sounds of imperialism.
The NXT Japan offer match.
Daisuke Sekimoto and Walter taking on Yuji Okabayashi and Yuji Hino. Look, this should be outstanding. It's just very, very frightening because I don't think there is not a single Big Japan pro wrestling fan in existence that wants to see NXT Japan happen. I follow a lot of people on Twitter that love Big Japan, and when this match was announced, they all pretty much went uh-oh. When Walter was announced, they all went uh-oh. When the rumors about Sekimoto being a trainer was announced, they all went uh-oh. I'm talking about thinking of Robert on Twitter, Mort, on Twitter was pretty upset, or said he would have to drop them if they became NXT Japan. God, there's somebody else. Stardust Jen, I think her name is. Probably know what that is if you follow people on Twitter. she was not thrilled about it, but I mean, a lot of people, I think, there's probably not a lot of crossover between Big Japan and WWE. So I'm sure most people are not thrilled at that idea. With that said, I'm sure this match in a vacuum will be great. So how do you square this circle, Kevin? What do you think about this?
So obviously NXT Japan seems weird and who knows what's going on with it. And Big Japan seems like a very weird company for it to be associated with. But I'm going to kind of just not really think about that on this one. And this match is going to be awesome. And when I saw Walter announced, my mind didn't go to NXT Japan. My mind went to, they were able to get somebody who has a lot of history with Big Japan, has a lot of history with Sekimoto in both Big Japan, especially WXW. Sekimoto and Walter have wrestled each other a lot, especially in the early 2010s when CZW, WXW, and Big Japan all had relationships together. That was a bit of a feud that they did. So when I saw this announced, I mean, obviously it was weird that Walter was allowed to do it, but I saw more of just Sekimoto and Big Japan were pulling back from their history and were able to get somebody who does have a bit of a relationship. So it's not quite as weird as if they brought in somebody like Johnny Gargano or Adam Cole or something like that, who just has but who has no history with Big Japan and all of a sudden just popped them in a match. They were able to bring in Walter, who really does have a lot of history there. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that this match should be pretty awesome. Now, who knows what's going forward, and it probably isn't great, but by itself as Sekimoto's anniversary match and just everything that's going on with it, I'm incredibly excited for this.
Taylor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think same thing. I think in a vacuum, it's a good match, but I just wonder in, 6 months if we look back and we say, that was the beginning of, whatever's happening now. If it happens to, whatever happens, I don't think there's any world in which these, WWE teams up with Big Japan and big changes don't happen. I don't think that's possible. But I think in a vacuum, obviously, it's 4 very talented wrestlers, and I think they're going to go out and have, and put their all into the match.
Yeah, for sure. Match number 8, the Blood and Death History Death Match, Ryuji Ito and Takashi Sasaki against Jun Kazai and Toshiyuki Sakuda. I think you said you were excited for this one before, Kevin, so have at it.
Yeah, this is the Ito 20th anniversary. I mean, Jun Kasai came back last year for Sumo Hall, hasn't been around since. So he's had a bit of an up and down relationship with Big Japan over the years, but I think that it's kind of decent right now where they just can bring him in for these big shows and big events. This should be awesome. Last year's was a big spectacle tag team death match, and this is going to be a big spectacle tag team death match. Sakuda is awesome, and it's very cool that of all the younger Big Japan guys that he has a big spot like this, because they don't have that many upcoming Big Japan deathmatch guys, so you need to use what you have. So I'm really excited for this and to see just Jun Kasai big spectacle Sumo Hall match.
Anything to add, Taylor?
No, nothing to add.
Okay. Semi-final, the Big Japan Strong World Heavyweight title match. Kohei Sato versus Daichi Hashimoto. It's a really weird one here. I think this could end up being pretty good. It wouldn't shock me if they just have a great match here. I think asking people to get back on the Daichi train might be a big ask. I loved the guy back a few years ago, but the title reign was just nothing. So
it was bad.
So I hope, I would love nothing more than to see him, win the belt and get back, get the train going again. But I think it's a big ask for a lot of people. What do you think here, Kevin?
Yeah, I agree. I think I've been the entire way that the Strong title has played out over the past 3 or 4 months has been weird, where I didn't see Okabayashi losing to Sato at all. I was completely stunned by that. And then I was surprised too when Daichi was the challenger. I guess you could spin it though that previously Hashimoto has not worked, and it hasn't been very good. But if you're going to go back to him, I guess that it makes sense to go against a guy like Sato, who is a bit grimier, is a bit a different opponent than he had before. And I don't remember them having a singles match. Not to say that they haven't, but I don't remember it, at least in the title reign. So it's something unique and different. So maybe if you're going to go back to square one with Daichi, it makes sense to completely change it and have somebody completely new. That said, I can't get too excited about the match, but maybe the idea of it being fresh and not a Sekimoto big match or not a Hideki Suzuki big match, it's just something different. Maybe that'll be good, but I don't know. I was very surprised when I saw that this was where they went. At first, I thought it was going to be Okabayashi versus Elgin. That was what I was like sure was happening, and then they completely did something that I did not see happening at all.
Any extra thoughts here, Taylor?
Nope.
The main event, the Big Japan Death Match for White Title, 4-board, Giga Ladder Death Match, Izami Kodaka against Yuko Miyamoto. Yankee Nikenju explodes. I don't know. I mean, this should be, it won't shock me this is like outstanding. I don't feel like super hyped for it, which is maybe a little weird even. But if it's really good, I won't be shocked. It feels like this almost is a few years late or something. I don't know. It just feels like it's a little late on the Yankee to Kenju train here, but I guess we'll see. It's cool they're main eventing Sumo Hall. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with you where, like I was saying, I thought that this was going to be Takeda, even though like Kodaka versus Takeda is kind of old news, but at the same time, it made sense to me that it would be the match to headline Sumo Hall because they hadn't done it on something like that before. So I was a bit surprised that they went in this direction. It just felt a bit out of the blue. But it is two wrestlers with a lot of history, and I think that they're going to try to go out there and completely maim themselves and have that big match. I wouldn't be surprised if Miyamoto wins just because it's Big Japan. They like these weird, shocking wins, and he hasn't had the death title in a while. So that's what I think is going to happen there. But we'll see. They can't use light tubes and that type of stuff in Sumo Hall. So we'll see how they're able to adapt, which luckily they use ladders and that type of stuff. So I think they'll do a pretty good job there. But yeah, we'll see what it's like, how it is. I think that it'll be good, but I think that with this card is that the undercard is all really awesome. And then the last two matches could go either way. Yeah. But I think that this one is much more likely to be better than the strong title match. I just think putting the strong title match there kind of makes this match seem weirder too.
Yeah, I think I hope they give time to the undercard basically because there's a lot of really cool stuff in the undercard, whereas the two main events are probably the weakest two main events of anything across the three shows. What do you think, Taylor? Anything to add on the main event or the card in general?
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. The show and also the main event, two guys I really like. And, I've been thinking a lot about what Kevin mentioned with the restrictions with Sumo Hall. So I'll be interested to see how they adapt to that and exactly what they do.
All right. So we got some questions. I'm going to go through really, really quickly because a lot of them we already covered, honestly. Like what's your bet on Ultimate Party show length and a bunch of other stuff. So I can go quickly through a couple questions. At All the Money MC, are any of the Noah shows going to be on their YouTube page? I would say probably not for G Plus shows. I don't know. Do either of you have any other ideas? I think they normally put up like Nico shows, right? Or like maybe Samurai.
Yeah, I think they do smaller shows up on their YouTube.
Yeah. So I think you're going to have to go to the illicit community for that. Let me see any questions from the Discord servers. First of all, from the Super Jcast server. It says, what would you rather see rise from the ashes of Suzuki-gun if Suzuki's really on his way out? Taichi-gun, Saber-gun, or Takagi-gun? I guess that'd be like Shingo turning heel. I want Taichi-gun. That's what I want. I'm not sure anyone would be surprised by that. But either of you want to see either of the other two?
I'll do Takagi-gun. I think that would be interesting to see.
And I guess I'll be the outlier or the third. And Saber-gun, just like a bunch of English dickheads or proteges, all kind of taking the jacket and dickhead part from that and kind of going for that with Zach being in the league. I think that would be pretty fun. So
the other two questions, they wanted to know who the next challenger for the both Tokyo Joshi titles are. I would say send those in after Ultimate Party. I really don't have any idea now who the challengers are going to be. Maybe for the singles title, if Yuka wins, I could see Miyu quickly challenging since she beat her. She's beaten her before and they have a long history, but maybe they save that one. I don't know. Do you have any idea who's going to challenge for either Tokyo Joshi title, Taylor?
No. Yeah, okay. I would say after the show. I mean, it's sort of hard to predict, before the next show has happened, especially considering the title challenges are often fairly far apart, compared to probably other promotions. So it's a little bit hard to tell.
Okay. And the other questions are kind of just like Liam said on the Voice of Wrestling Discord, how much would you pay for Drew Gulak versus Sasadango Machine, a PowerPoint battle? I don't know. I don't really care about Drew Gulak. Either of you care about Drew Gulak?
Well, they both have PowerPoint, see, so that's why. So who knows?
I've never seen a single Drew Gulak PowerPoint, so I've seen a million Sasadango, but I've never seen a single Drew Gulak PowerPoint. And then Guy Yeager says, are you ready for Take 2 belts after Ultimate Party? Sure, why not, I guess. I don't know. I mean, does anyone really care about, I guess some people might be tired of Takeshita, but who fucking cares if he wins the Extreme title? Is that really that big a deal? I can't really see getting worked up about that. But anyway. And then Velke Bracha, I'm sorry, buddy, I probably mispronounce that every time. Will Kenny get to win his match and come out to challenge for the main event in Saitama? They could do that, right? They could do the really early challenge like it's the fucking Rock and John Cena. Yeah. It wouldn't even be a full year, but it'd still be great to start building that up now.
Well, and they could have him come out and then have someone else come out and say, hey, you just got here. First, you have to go through me or something like that.
Yeah, like Endo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that too. Or you could just make it clear that it's Kenny Takeshita for Saitama and, get your tickets early. I think I very well could see them doing that, yeah. So, all right, let's wrap it up. And then we already gone probably 3 hours. So, Kevin, give me some plugs.
I'm on Twitter, Stan__Hansen. I don't have anything else that I'm doing, but if you are a fan of Burning Spirits, Drew has a podcast on the Place to Be Nation network called You Don't Know Billy Jack, where he and his friend who doesn't really know anything about wrestling sit down and watch classic matches. Brennan has a video game music podcast called KVGM The Last Wave. So if you remember Brennan's chill voice with chill video game music, you can check that out too.
All right. And of course, I assume you're going to post some trip content on your Twitter, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I'll have all sorts of stuff on Twitter, and yeah, I will post all sorts of pictures and stuff.
The only thing that gets me to the next Japan trip is living through my friends' trips vicariously. So I'm counting on you to provide the content.
Yes,
Taylor, give me some plugs. Other than you're going to be on 2 more weeks of the show.
I'm going to be on 2 more weeks of the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Tamaimbo. And John, I don't know if you've said this, but we'll have a written preview of Ultimate Party coming out this week on voicesofwrestling.com.
And a Power Struggle preview too.
Yes, so check that out.
All right. So next week we'll be back. Probably not until a week from Tuesday because we have to watch all these shows. But we're going to talk about the Noah basically everything but the Noah show, because the Noah show is not airing yet. So Power Struggle, Ultimate Party, and Ryogokutan. Taylor's going to be back with me. Thomas Fishbeck is going to be on. Jack Beckman's going to be on. It's going to be a wild 4-person booth here. I don't know how that happened, but it happened, apparently. So next week, a week from Tuesday, we'll be back with the reviews of 3 of the 4 shows we talked about today. Until then, you can follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Omakase. Wrestling Doesn't Fit. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you, as always, for listening.